those are young people. So they have personal, direct problems they face every single day. So you are sure these are boiled over. In fact, it is what I call pent-up anger. That's how you end up getting up more people running, new voters. In fact, you have new leaders coming in. How do you have a case where a whole bunch of MCAs are voted out? That is pent-up anger.
Looking at 2017, the 55th Madaraka Day celebration, and where we were 55 years ago, what is the only difference that you see? I saw who has not spoken. Let me start from Kibageni once again like that. What is the difference, tangible, that you can say in terms of what we set out for 55 years ago and where we are? And don't forget, 3 weeks ago, we were battling hunger in this country. And the government had to intervene.
It hasn't ended, we are still battling.
We're still battling, okay.
Yeah. You know, if you look at where we've come from and where we are, there's definitely some change.
In terms of?
There's definitely some improvement. Number one, in terms of information. Information is power. Currently, the levels of information in our country are at an extremely high level, and that is why people tend to make slightly informed choices in terms of even the kind of meals they eat, the leaders they choose, and what have you. Although, again, on issues to do with leadership, we again get to a point where they go into issues to do with clans, tribe, financial muscle, and what have you. One is levels of information, literacy levels. Number two, in terms of infrastructure, we are not where we are supposed to be, but we have come a long way. If you look at way back when I was traveling from Kisii to Nairobi, we would take 10 to 12 hours on the road. Right now, it is a little different. But now...
And I'm interested in what we set out for
now, on
55 years ago.
On issues, initially, when we set out, it was ignorance, disease, where we have done a bit, yeah? Especially the progress that was made by the coalition government. That is the time we experience exponential growth in all spheres, from health to education and various other aspects. Another thing is what I can call, beyond information, is what I can call realization. That is when young people realize leaders of tomorrow is a fallacy. You take charge of your destiny right now.
All right. So tomorrow, and I know, Wako, you're very strong on tomorrow will never come and Kipto. But just also reflecting back, have we really achieved what we set out for? Real achievement?
Looking back, for me, the only time that I can say I've looked back is through videos, black and white videos and history books. I'm a history buff, and that's because I have interest. And watching those videos, it looked like the Kenyan people had pride in being Kenyan. And I feel that we have lost that national identity, that national cohesion, because at the moment I can look at our political parties and our youth, the same. There's a lot of ethnic, tribal kind of tension. And that's one thing that I feel that we have lost looking back. And our history, I mean, do people know that even at that time, Jomo Kenyatta never used to sleep at State House? He used to drive all the way to Gatundu and sleep there.
Every single day?
Yes, every single day. So those are things in our history that we've taken for granted. And even during that time, the people around him were absolutely young. If we speak about Tom Mboya, he was not even 30. And a lot of these members who were fighting for the independence of our country, our nation, were youth. So why have we lost that sense of ability and power as a young people to be able to lead?
You go back to my question before I go to Kipto, when I asked, have we ever had a space that we ought to have reclaimed or to claim? You go back there, right? Because you mentioned Jomo Kenyatta, and we have pictures downstairs of his cabinet, for example. 70% are young people,
yes,
right?
Because they are the only educated ones at that
time. At that time,
yes.
That was my point.
Yes.
Now, a quick answer on reflection as to Madaraka Day. What have we achieved? What has happened? If you put it into a historic perspective, Ken, you'll realize that ours is a deferred dream. And I would put the blame squarely on our
ours in
founding
terms
fathers.
of the youth or
no,
the country?
The entire country. We are part of the entire country. It's a deferred dream because how we started the journey of building nationhood, we failed at the start. It was a false start. Our founding fathers set us into this kind of journey we are in. When you talk about ethnicity, it is something that was planted and in fact, it has become systemized that it is part and parcel of our public life. So I would squarely blame the founding fathers. And after that, we've had years of looking and learning. If you ask for the tangible benefit we've had, the most tangible I can refer to is basically education, in the sense that now we are more informed than we were in 1960. It's only that we are still held back. There's a handbrake still holding us back. There's that nationhood. In fact, the missing link is the nationhood. What can make me Kenyan and beyond my ethnic identity? What can make me talk with my fellow Kenyans that like the way we do, except when it comes to voting? Because 4 years before the voting, we are Kenyan. We protest on rent. We will protest on high cost of food and living. But when it comes to the actual point of voting, electing leaders, deciding people who will now take care of the country, we lose it. Now that goes back to the 1960s. Our founding fathers put us in this. That is why it is a question. In fact, the only thing we need at the moment is reawakening. How do we get back
Revive
the initial dream? Because
that has
if you
been
look
defined.
at the dream Kenya, it's a black and white story.
Do you agree, Alisa?
I tend to disagree slightly, because from where I sit, I think we have come a long way. We are now more educated. Majority of us are educated, and we are systematically moving from this mindset of I need to finish school and get a job and retire. Right now we see people are changing their mindsets, and now people are moving more towards entrepreneurship and self-employment, and I think that's a step in the right direction, because now people are thinking outside the box. And the government, the Jubilee government, for example, has really been instrumental in this. It has encouraged the youth to think away from employment. Look for ways you can make your own little money. I think that's a step.
But have they facilitated that?
Yes.
For me,
that
Yes,
is
it has.
it's
The
an
government-
outright
can say-
failure.
No, the government is
The
Concerning-
youth have been stolen from
From-
Jubilee
I
government.
don't believe. I know. I will
And that
disagree
is
with
where-
you.
When you
No,
talk
no,
about
let me
Jubilee
finish.
And the youth,
No,
I
let
will
me
disagree.
Listen
That is
to
what
me.
an oil.
Allow
Let me
to finish.
finish. Let me finish. What I'm saying is this. Look at, we have the youth fund, the women
are on
enterprise
paper.
fund. We have the Huduma centers to facilitate things. Things are being made digital. The government is trying. Not
Oh my.
there
Talk to us.
yet,
Talk to us
but we
about
are
the
headed
30%
somewhere.
concession on the.
Talk about
Now-
public procurement,
Procurement.
30%,
Talk to us.
tangible. If you
Yes.
talk, for
This is
example,
we
that
can
is
see.
where-
even if you talk about youth fund, those are on
Yes,
paper.
how do you
We
get
have
it?
anything to show.
On the issue of youth empowerment, the government has performed dismally. And particularly this government
Was.
that we had a lot of hope in because of their age.
Yeah.
And the agenda they were selling about young people need to be empowered and what have you. The youth fund, the women fund, and the procurement for the 30% were all a fallacy.
PR.
Because what happened is a few young people that are close to government operatives are the ones who managed to get those tenders.
Or a few young
You-
people
you-
who have succeeded and are just looking for a boost.
Yes.
Are the people
that
who
is
are being paraded.
paraded.
We can
Now,
give you
number
101
two-
examples.
Number two, what happened, people who are doing business with government, the cartels, when they realized some of these opportunities are purely for young people, what they did, you go, take your son, polish him, tell him this is how you walk, this is how you talk. Here is the company, he changes the CR12, he gets the company, he presents his papers, gets the tender. You understand?
Not even that. Even without facilitation, the basic is facilitation.
Another
You
thing
can
is,
never.
is on what I can call capacity building. Majority of young people are getting what I call realization. Entrepreneurship is not because of government. It is because of realization,
A change of
frustration,
mindsets.
and all that.
And government is not
because
party to that.
sometimes people get into business, you job hunt until you decide, I'm getting into this business. And then you grow in that. Government needs to systematically organize youth to get into groups and be trained on entrepreneurship so that we have a mentorship program that ensures young people don't make the same mistakes that other people made in entrepreneurship or in business.
You agree now? Are you convinced?
Not
Or you still have a
entirely.
point?
Even before she answers that, maybe I can pick out something just to show you why there's a disconnect, whether Jubilee has done it for the young. Have you noted that even when...
Or any other government?
Look, have you noted that when they were launching their re-election at KICC, did you hear anything about youth empowerment like they were in 2013? They kept quietly. In fact, they never mentioned anything about Uwezo, they never mentioned about youth empowerment because they know.
Maybe it
In
was not the
fact,
time to do that.
Don't talk even about 30%. If they would have given 10% to the young, I have tried. I have that AGPO thing. It doesn't work. It is on paper, it is on PR, it is sold out. Uwezo Fund was sold out for 1 year. 2013, 2014, and that was it. So if you are to go down into the nitty-gritties, facilitation means let the young assess opportunity. She's talked about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, I'm not even asking the government to come teach me how to be an entrepreneur, but give me little opportunities. Let me show you why it's a fallacy to say that they have tried. If even for the procurement, the few that have got it, as Anthony says it, you know how long it takes to be paid?
To get it.
Do you remember in 2015, 2016, in fact, sometime in December 2016, there was a trending topic on Kenyans on Twitter saying, don't do business with government
Exactly.
because it is a sure death to your young SME. Why? They never pay you. If you do the work and you're not paid for a year and you are taken a loan, with the interest rate being high,
Who gives
how do you
credit for
survive?
1 year?
So
Who
we're
gives
only
credit
asking,
for
in
1
fact,
year?
the government, we not ask government to give us jobs and everything. Open the platforms.
Goes
the
back-
30%, give us, in fact, just give us 15%.
15, don't give us
Not
30
even
so
30,
that
give us
you
15.
share. It goes back to Nelimu's point, the gatekeepers, the old guards. Because once they lose these opportunities, next year, Anthony and I probably in this panel will be beyond, next year I'm turning 35, we're beyond that age of the youth. I cannot access these opportunities, which I haven't accessed until. So it goes back to the gatekeeping, and that's the problem. And that has been our problem, right?
I've had somebody or a discussion with a political leader, and he said to me, you know, you young people, you need to fight for this space. As we fought for it, so it won't be handed to you.
Sure.
Plain.
Has he shown you the weapons?
No.
How to
No.
fight?
We already
No,
have
no,
the
no, teach
weapons.
you that.
We already
Just
have
told
the
me to
weapons.
fight, and if I end up in jail, I'll be visited.
Now, that is,
Tutakuletea
We
mkate
have the
na
weapons.
maziwa.
The weapon, in fact, if you talk about the weapon, what I agree with her in totality, entrepreneurship is not even about government. You know, out of the pent-up frustration that Anthony says, I apply for a job, I go for 10 interviews, I don't get it. You don't think I'll just sit there waiting? I'll wake up and say, let me do what can be done to put food on the table.
On the table,
and
because-
that's how entrepreneurship comes
But you see, if we're living in a world that we are only worried about what I'll eat in the evening, where I will sleep, because basically everyone in the job market is working for bills. The
Yes.
first thing you think of is bills, but is that how it should be? You had a point,
No.
Anthony.
At first, I wanted to pick up on what you've just said. Most of us work to pay our loans or pay our bills or pay school
That's if
fees.
you're lucky to get a loan
Yes.
as
Yeah,
a young
not
person.
everyone.
Yes. Yeah, but now I was looking at myself.
Yeah.
In business, of course, for you to grow, you need to work with banks. Now, most of us are working for that. But the realization and the change of the paradigm shift in the way young people are doing things, whereby now they're getting into serious entrepreneurship, will now start again getting amongst the generation, a group of people who will grow wealth. And that group at the moment is mainly in the IT sector. Yeah, those ones actually work their hearts out. They don't need favors. In the process, the amounts of money they make are big. They don't just need it to pay their loans and what have you. And this money they make, they invest, they diversify now in business. And that way, you keep growing. This is the generation that now will destroy what we've called the joblessness that we have in this country. Entrepreneurship will deal with joblessness. But again, I wanted to touch on the way the government has been working with young people. What we've seen is purely cosmetic. It's cosmetic. And that is why this time round, no one seems to be talking about
When you make reference to government of the day or
government of the
all
day.
other governments.
All other governments have not
biggest
been
government.
genuinely concerned about the plight of young people. And even the government that most people believed would transform the way young people operate in this country, including what he talked about, the Uwezo Fund, that was, you know what happened to Uwezo Fund? It was pocket money for members of parliament to do what they wanted with. Yeah, nobody has ever paid back Uwezo Fund. And what we are saying is this, as government or even the opposition has demonstrated youth can only be used in rallies and what have you,
Campaigning.
and in campaigning. And these are the people who promised heaven and delivered hell, demonstrated that they cannot actually support young people. And that is why, as young people, we are in the electioneering period. We need to question these people. What is in it for us? When he talked about young people fighting for their space, you realize when young people organize themselves, it is again the gatekeepers who come amongst these young people. They pick one or two who will quickly start fighting this group. So the youth again become their own enemies. You see. And that is why we need to urge our fellow young people to come together, to unite, to have one line of thought whereby we say a youth for a youth in business, a youth for a youth in politics. A youth for a youth in everything.
You know what, I agree with all of you. This is a test run of 2022. This is indeed a test run. And I agree with the notion that the born 2000
will be voting for the first
will be
time.
voting for the first time.
Yes.
These people are clueless, rudderless, you know,
Millennials.
in terms of opinionless. So it's very important. So my other question would be, are our dreams as the youth unrealistic?
No, they're not.
Do we dream too much?
No.
No.
No, you know, you can't say we dream too much. What is dreaming?
Or too big.
Like for
being
example,
aspirational.
there shall be a day
Look
that
at
we
the
should
aspiration.
stand.
Look
you know?
at the aspiration of the youth. If you ask us on this panel what are our aspirations, they are very realistic. She wants to make it in entrepreneurship. I want to make it in entrepreneurship and governance. Those are basic aspirations. The question here is, which I think I'll take from Anthony, the main thing, the only antidote we need as a young people is to stop being timid.
Yes.
We are timid, accepting that this is the channel.
I don't think we are timid.
We are
as
timid.
young
No,
people.
people
I don't
are
think we are
timid.
timid.
That is why we are active in social media. Why?
We have
because we are
keyboard
faceless.
warriors.
If she can come out and address a forum and take on, that is now how you fight.
But how
timidity.
do you describe us as timid when we have Boniface
Oh,
Mondi,
we are just
when we
powerful.
have Nelima, when we have them?
Now you've even quoted the right person, but
let-
let's
let-
want
let-
it this
let-
way.
Uh-huh.
Because he's the last guy I remember who protested. Like when was the last time you
We saw
a
the youth on the
meaningful
street.
protest?
We're looking for money. Do you agree you're timid?
No, I'm not timid. May I attend
No.
protests?
Yeah.
I
But-
was giving an example,
example.
that she's better.
Yeah.
She's among the few.
but I'll have to agree that there are very many youth who are very strong and vocal on social media. In fact, even us on Twitter, they can criticize what we say right now.
Right now, they are doing it
But
already.
then they can't do
Call
it
them
in
out.
your face.
In person,
face.
exactly.
In person. So we need to move action from social media, our phones, our pads, into action.
Okay.
And that's
But
where
do we have the time, guys? Do we even have the time to take to the streets when
organize.
we are fighting the most basic thing, which is
You have to
put
create
food
time.
on the table?
You have to create time.
You cannot.
Now,
guys,
that
I'm
is
going
where-
to take a short break.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll begin right there, because what is our focus as a youth right now? Even as we celebrate the Madaraka Day this year, what is our focus? Are we really living our dream? And if we're living our dream, when is our time to wake up, right? All right, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Friday. It's the Madaraka Day. However, the gubernatorial aspirants are presenting their papers before the IEBC today. They are at Kasarani, and Andrew Cheng is joining us live from Kasarani. Andrew, we know Governor Evans Kidero, Miguna, Peter Kenneth, and Mike Sonko are supposed to be presenting their papers today. Who has presented and who has been cleared, who has not been cleared?
Well, thank you, Ken. As you've rightly mentioned, those three are supposed to present their papers, their nomination papers here at Kasarani to the IEBC County Returning Officer, but they haven't yet come here. Only Miguna has come, and he's among the three already who have come here today. Remember, according to the IEBC list, there are about 12 candidates for the position of governor of Nairobi County. Only 3 have come here so far, and none of the 3 have been cleared for various reasons. We had a problem with one candidate who is called Michael Mutinda, who was not cleared earlier on in the morning because the running mate had several issues. They are from Agano Party. Then the independent candidate Miguna was also not cleared because he had presented his signatures in a different form. He brought them in a JPEG form, and the signatures were needed to have been typed in an Excel sheet. So that's what he's been told to go and do, and then bring them back either today or tomorrow for him to be cleared. Miguna has also changed his running mate. Remember, he had unveiled a running mate earlier on, a student leader from the university, but that has currently changed. He has a new running mate who he came with today, and that is a lady. He is saying that he has all the rights to change the running mate as long as he is cleared to vie for the position. The candidate, he himself, and the running mate he presents are the same, are what he will present to the electorate to be elected. So then there's another final candidate who appeared here earlier on, who is called John Bugwa, who has also not been cleared. So the 3 who have come here have not been cleared so far. We are expecting the incumbent, that is Evans Kidero, to come in any time from now, and we are also expecting later on in the afternoon perhaps his strongest competitor, that is Mike Sonko, the senator, together with the running mate Polycarp Igathe, to be here later on in the afternoon. Those are the people we are expecting. But as I just mentioned to you earlier on, there are 12 candidates who are scheduled to be here. Tomorrow there will be Peter Kenneth, who is an independent candidate, and another independent candidate coming on earlier at 8 o'clock. So that is what will be happening tomorrow. But today we are expecting, of course, the big shots, NASA ODM candidate Evans Kidero, who is expected any time from now, as well as Mike Sonko later on in the afternoon, Ken.
It's Andrew Cheng reporting from Kasarani, the venue of IEBC receiving the nomination papers. I didn't know there were 12 candidates in Nairobi. I think we have been capitalizing on the known 4, right? That's Mike Sonko, Miguna, Governor Kidero, and Peter Kenneth, right? So let's go back to the discussion before we try and get Sheila to update us what's happening in Nyeri. And I stopped you at the point to me.
Just
realization, right?
Why we may not have the numbers out here to protest and to agitate. I think the source of that also, I think, goes back to 2002. 2002 was the hallmark. It was the culmination of activism. Activism ended up generating a new regime where the Moi and the Kanu team were thrown out. And you realize that at that time, more activists, like the core of the civil society in a way, ended up finding themselves now having to defend the government, some taking up positions in government. And then the biggest mistake that happened is that these guys being the faces of protest, these guys being the faces of activism, when they got in, they never stood to the idea.
They were absorbed.
So what happens? You had a crowd sitting and say, we thought these guys would do what we've been fighting for.
Examples?
And I think after 2002, the narrative changed among the young people. They said, oh, it doesn't matter. I can give examples. I can quote like the Makueni governor, Kivuda Kibwana, the Martha Karuas, all that group that went into government in fact, even the current Senator Meru, it's called Kiretu Murungi, the Orengos and everyone. When they got in, they were the face of the protest activism in the 90s, the second liberation. So once they got in, it was different. They got comfortable, they did what Kanu was doing. So what happens? If you have the younger generation that looked up into that group, they change. Coming to 2007, same. So anytime like a powerful person comes up, someone who is authentic, who is legit, gets into government something, and that's why I'm saying that can only be changed if the few who have done the test run in 2017 go in and keep the faith.
And
if
we have quite a
then
number
you
of
will
them.
take guys out of Twitter, they will come protest. Because the guys, as Anthony says, they are working to make ends meet. So their notion is, are we just coming to protest to build a career of an individual? So if the likes of Akina Boniface will come in and keep the faith and just stand to what they have been fighting for before getting the position, then that narrative will change. And that is why this 2017 answers that dilemma and question.
I like what's happening in South Africa, the KFF, Julius Malema and the team. Those are young people, and see the amount of work they have been able to do. But you know, if you read about how that revolution of KFF came about, one of the reasons is the realization that ANC was not serving their interest. And as young people, they came. Look at the parliament, South African parliament, and the kind of activity they have been able to do and hold the government hostage, for example. Is that a possibility? Do we have a point? And what point? Actually, the question should be, what point will we have this realization, Nelima? Then I'll come to Alusa.
I believe it will be a point when I believe, okay, we always say there's the haves and the have-nots, right? But I believe it's a time when the classes feel a connection. And I think we're close with UNGA. We were very close. When someone who's a middle-class individual, they think that they're not doing too badly, but most of the time they're on credit. Yes, or even water crisis. When we start to feel that our needs are similar to one another, that's when it creates this atmosphere that we are one. Because at the moment, it's they and them.
Versus them.
Yeah. Okay. And so as soon as those two classes come together, and I believe in Kenya, we're in a time that it is about to happen, then we'll begin to start to see these movements of oneness, where we all want a better country for one another.
Okay. If I look at the presentation of nomination papers, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto early in the week, and I look at that crowd on a weekday, unless it was a rented crowd, I'm imagining getting it's rented crowd.
Nowadays it's rented. You don't do a rally without
I'm just thinking, if it wasn't rented, do you think such activism, such noble acts of the youth can reach that level, Nalima?
Yes, it can, because even if we look at politicians going for rallies, even within these places, there are young people who are using this as a business opportunity. They will walk in, one day they are supporting Jubilee, the next it will be NASA, the same faces, the same youth groups. Because to them, because to them this is a time for them to make money,
some little money,
and do business. So they are not personally inclined to a particular political party. So
and the money is hardly enough, right?
Yeah.
But they still remain there. So what makes them focus on making money from politicians? And they know this is a season, a period. After that, I'm back to my space.
Because of the reward mentality. It's sort of like a rewarding scheme. If you do this for me, I'll do this for you.
But it means there's no that realization that this is temporary. It's a season.
Probably I pick it up from there.
My director tells me that Sheila Sendeo is ready. Can we just take Sheila and then we listen to you? Sheila, good morning once again. It's a few minutes to 11, and Sikolia told us that the president is expected there at around 10 to 11 or about 11. Has he shown up? Have you seen his chopper fly into Nyeri? And what do we expect? When do we expect this to begin?
Well, that's right, Ken. The celebrations here in Nyeri County just starting to take shape. We're waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's going to get here any time now to lead the country into these national celebrations. As I said earlier, there are those who feel that these national celebrations may have lost their luster, but it is indeed a day for the country to rally behind national unity, the ideals for the country. And let's put this into perspective. And to help me do that, I have someone, if you can just slowly get up and introduce yourself to our viewers, and maybe just tell us briefly what is your view of these national celebrations, having been there since the very beginning. You organized the very first national celebrations. Just take us through this experience.
Thank you very much indeed for inviting me to say something on this occasion of Madaraka Day. I have attended 54 Madaraka Days since I attended the first one and became Secretary of the Cabinet very soon after, and we formed the first government of this country, and then went through many celebrations of Uhuru and governments through Kenyatta, through Moi. By then, I was governor of Central Bank. Thank you very much for inviting me, because I have a history and the image of this day. The first one being June 1963. Do you want to know anything else? Our government was very much disturbed by the Somali shifters, but we formed the planning, we made the planning that started our nation. And I'm very proud to welcome here Uhuru Kenyatta, with whose father I worked as Secretary of the Cabinet for 15, 20 years. Thank you very much.
Before you sit down, I have to ask you, sir, you've been there since the very beginning, looking at the celebrations as they are now and reflecting how it was back then. Do you feel that there is a sense that sense of nationalism that was there before isn't there anymore?
It is, there has been great improvements, of course. It is our second constitutional government with the regions having governors. And I'm very proud indeed for the development and continued development of the nation by the people, for the people.
Are you happy with the direction the country is taking? This is a day to celebrate our self-determination. Are you happy 54 years down the line how the country is progressing?
We have a lot of challenges in this country, but we are marching on freedom, and we are not allowing foreigners to interfere with our liberties, and we must be continually watching that foreigners do not over-interfere with our freedom.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for contributing to our discussions today. This is really a day of a celebration here in Nyeri County. As I said, the president is yet to make his way here, but we expect him to come over any time from now. And I have to hand over to my colleague Enoch Sikolia, who's with someone else that they're going to talk to right now.
Asante sana Sheila, bila shaka niko katika upande huu mwingine wa uwanja huu wa Dedan Kimathi. Hapo awali vile ulivyosema ni siku ya maadhimisho ya miaka 54 tangu Kenya iweze kujinyakulia utawala. Hapa tumeweza kuona viongozi wa tabaka mbalimbali ambao wameweza kufika katika uwanja huu ili kuweza kushirikiana ama kushirikiana na Wakenya kote nchini katika maadhimisho ya leo. Na bila shaka niko hapa na magavana wawili wa kutoka katika eneo hili la kati. Niko na gavana wa Nyandarua na niko na gavana wa county ya Laikipia. Bila shaka tuanze na wewe gavana wa Ithaka. Labda siku hii wewe kama kiongozi na kiongozi wa county, unaona kwamba miaka 54 tangu Kenya iweze kujipatia utawala mambo ni tofauti?
Hiyo ni kweli, nimeona mambo ni tofauti, sababu nilikuwako wakati Kenya ilipata uhuru 1963, na kwa leo nimeona mabadiliko kubwa, na hasa wakati wa devolution ilianza na 2013 kufika wa leo, wananchi wamefurahia. Hiyo sina shaka, wamefurahia kabisa, sababu mambo mengi imefika kwa wananchi mashinani. Ile ilikuwa wanaenda kutafuta Nairobi, ile walikuwa wanafikiria haiwezi fika, wameona kwa macho yao, na sasa ni washahidi at devolution is a success story in this country.
Na Gavana Joshua Irungu, tukija kwako, tunaona kwamba ni sherehe ya mwisho kabla uchaguzi mkuu kuandaliwa, na bila shaka ni hotuba ya mwisho ya Rais Uhuru Kenyatta kabla ya uchaguzi huo. Labda matarajio yako ni yepi kutoka kwa kiongozi wa taifa, kwamba atazungumzia swala lipi ama swala gani ambalo ungependa rais atilie maanani?
Mimi kwanza ni kushukuru wa Kenya kwa sababu ya vile wamejitokeza kwa sababu ya kuheshimu siku ya leo, na ningesema ya kwamba yale tunatarajia na wengi wa Kenya wanatarajia ni ya kwamba ni vile rais wetu Uhuru Kenyatta yule tunapenda sana, vile ataambia watu wakati wa huu uchaguzi unakaribia, watu wakae na amani. Najua ataelezea hayo na achague wale viongozi wale wa Kenya wanaona ya kwamba wataelekeza hii nchi yetu mbele, kwa sababu ya yale kwanza kuendekeza kama yale ametuonyesha, kwa sababu kuna mengi tangu wakati uhuru ipatikane, kuna mengi yamefanywa kwa hizi miaka minne hii yamekuweko. Sasa tumeona train imefika Nairobi, tumeona zile kilomita za barabara zile amejenga kwa miaka minne ni nyingi, na kwa hivyo najua kwamba tunatarajia kwamba akiweza kuelezea watu yale tumeyafanya kwa Jubilee amefanya mpaka wakati huu, na yale Jubilee ikipatiwa na nafasi nyingine ya miaka mingine 5 itayafanyia kuendekeza na kuendelesha ile kazi yeye mwenyewe ameanzisha, na ndio Wakenya waweze kuwa na amani na waweze kupata madawa na afya mzuri na waweze kujimudu kimaisha.
Nikisalia kwako tu, unaona kwamba hali ya uchumi imekuwa, gharama ya maisha imeongezeka, imekuwa ya juu, na Wakenya wanalia kwamba mambo lazima yafanyiwe, ama lazima swala hilo liangaziwe, na miundo msingi hasa, ama tuseme suluhu iweze kupatikana kuhakikisha kwamba maisha yanaboreshwa na mambo ama gharama ya maisha inarudi chini. Wewe kama gavana unaona kwamba mbali na siasa, unaona kwamba hali iko vipi, na wewe unaona kwamba serikali itafanya kitu gani kuhakikisha kwamba uhuru ambao Wakenya walipigania si tu wa matamshi, si tu wa maneno, ila ni wa vitendo, na pia wanaweza kuburudika, wanaweza kuona kwamba hali yao ni nzuri?
Mimi ningetaka kusema ya kwamba kama wakati huu kulingana na vile tumeona matarajio ya president wetu Uhuru Kenyatta na vile ameanzisha mambo ya infrastructure, yale yote mnaona yanafanywa, hata kama hii mambo ya train ya cargo na ya kubeba wananchi, bei imeenda chini. Kwa hivyo hata vifaa na products, bei yake na product na value addition, wakati tunatoa products zitakuwa zimeenda chini. Kwa hivyo ile cost of production itaenda chini, na ndio tunaona ya kwamba hata wakati alianzisha mambo ya subsidized fertilizer, ndio the cost of production ya mahindi na chakula na mazao inaenda chini. Kwa hivyo at the end of the day tutaona ya kwamba the cost of living itaenda chini, kwa sababu ya wananchi wanaweza kupata chakula na vifaa vingine na bei ya rahisi, kwa sababu ya the infrastructure development. Mambo ya maji vile yameanzisha irrigation programs, so that watu wetu wa Kenya wanaweza kupata chakula rahisi, na kwa hivyo bei ya chakula itakuwa inapungua kulingana na vile yote ameyapagia, na tunatarajia kwamba na tunalakia Uhuru president wetu Kenyatta maisha mema, kwa sababu tunaona ya kwamba anaelekeza Kenya na ile njia inafaa.
Tukiona kwamba gavana wa Ithaka, tumeona kwamba katika vita vingi ambavyo Wakenya wamepigana, kwanza vita vya kwanza vilikuwa vya kukomboa kutoka mikononi mwa wakoloni, vita hili kutoka kwa minyororo ya wakoloni wa ndani kwa ndani, wakoloni ambao wanasema ukoloni mamboleo, alafu pia wamepigania katiba, ndipo tukaweza kuwa na ugatuzi. Lakini wanasema kwamba wengi wanasema kwamba hawajaona matunda ya ugatuzi, kwa vile wengi wa magavana, wewe ni mmoja wa magavana, wanasema kwamba wengi wa magavana wamekuwa wakitumia pesa ambazo serikali inapeleka mashinani.
Ukweli uliopo ni ati kutoka mikononi mwa wakoloni tumesoka hatua mingi sana mbele na maendeleo, na hakika ni kweli ati watu wameona haya, lakini mambo inaharibikia wakati mtu anafanya mambo yake anasahau amechaguliwa na wananchi awafanyie.
All right, Enoch Sikolia, they are speaking to the governor, but we have lost sound from Nyeri. We'll try and rectify that and try and get Sikolia back on the air before President Uhuru Kenyatta goes to Nyeri and begins the ceremony officially. But the ceremony has become began in Nyeri. We were showing you live pictures earlier. Right here in studio, you still have my guest. I have Anthony Kibagendi, I have Nelima Wako, I have Kipto, and I have Alusa. We're still speaking about the dreams of the youth that were deferred, and I think we stopped at Anthony, right? Or it was Nelima?
Yes.
Wrapping up.
Okay, now, I probably will pick up from what I saw on TV, what we've just watched. When people are asked about Madaraka Day, they need to look at the past and the present and what the government we have currently has built on the past leadership. You realize there is one person there who purely focused on what Jubilee has done. And it was not, Madaraka Day is not about what Jubilee has done. It is about the journey from when we started and where we are presently and our aspirations for the future. We were talking about young people and organizing and consistency. You mentioned about Malema in South Africa. When Malema started that journey, he did not have a big team. They started as a small group. But over time, they have managed to convince people to join them. Yeah? And people have joined them in several fronts. There are people who've actually come physically to join their movement, and there are those who are encouraging them from the keyboard that you talk about, from social media, and there are others in the countryside who are singing the same song. And hence, what young people need to do, first, we need to have those who come out and help in organizing, those who actually stick together, bring together the people who've agreed to come and organize, and then we need to have the other groups that actually continue encouraging and pushing the same agenda in various forms of media. When this is done, the paradigm shift begins to actually take shape across the country. It is not amongst a select few. And that is what I would encourage young people. Consistency is key in all this. That is the only way we'll succeed. We are a generation that likes instant coffee. You want instant fame, instant this, instant that. You want a deal. You want to meet Governor Kidero to give you a deal. You want to meet Robo William Ruto to give you a deal. That is not sustainable. We need to look at things that we can do consistently. And when we are consistent, sometimes we fail, even in various other things in life, even in relationships, in business, in academia. What you need to do is you go back, recollect, organize, and come back. You'll have gotten some experience. And that is what we need to pump into the generation that we have right now and those that follow, so that we have generations that are willing to sacrifice.
Okay. And you don't think we have that generation currently, and you think we are not nurturing that generation?
We are not nurturing that generation because we learn the hard way. Okay. Look at, like myself, I have learned the hard way in business. I have learned the hard way in politics. In terms of mentorship, I have not had people who are genuinely willing to mentor me. They feel threatened by the excitement I cause around the supporter. They assume those are their supporters. They get jealous when they see me around their business networks, and that makes them uncomfortable. So they can only bring you this far. But as we move on, you'll realize in countries like in the US or in the West, generally in every sphere of life, there are mentors who mentor people on issues to do with relationships, marriage, in academia, in economy, and all that.
All right.
Now, the power relations and the patronage system cannot guarantee that mentorship. So we should move away from that. We shouldn't look for it. Circumstances can be another mentor. You know, circumstances are practical. They push you in.
Yes.
If you look at the history of the revolutionaries across the world, quite a number of them were not mentored, rather they self-made. It is out of frustration, out of circumstances. As a young group, let's not even cry baby anymore. We don't need any mentorship. What more mentorship? The mentorship we needed was going to school, getting the knowledge, experiencing. You see, now we've gone to school, we've been given knowledge, now we are out here. What is our experience? Marry the two, then come up, in fact, be a solution oriented. So I think we are at the position where our circumstances, our trouble, our shared problems should be our mentors.
But when you try to get out of your space and get into this other space without someone who holds your hand, and we're going back to the Godfather syndrome, you are definitely not going to be able to make it, because then you find the gatekeepers.
It's a mixed up thing. There are those that will be held, no problem. But the majority will not be held. And where is the number? Where is the energy? Also, you should also realize even the so-called godfathers and gatekeepers also have their limitation. They never foresaw that there would be a different platform where they cannot control the narrative. If that platform has been lost, that is one step away. So by virtue that we have the gatekeepers and age is not on their side, that should not be, and that's why I'm saying that is the handbrake that holds us back. We keep fearing and we become timid and say there's something, I have to get, like for example, how many people knew that one can be elected without having a kingpin? Can I show you how that has been demystified? In the party primaries in Rift Valley, are you surprised that almost all candidates who won, in fact, some of them were anti-William Ruto. So how did they win? It is because they went out there in Nyanza. Why do you have the independents coming out so powerfully? It is because they have gone against the gatekeeping. Central Kenya, the same thing.
So it's possible.
It tells you something. The awakening is here. It is, in fact, we don't need any other thing. Let the common problems continue and we'll have it. Like as Nerima has said, the first time you had a water crisis in Nairobi where it didn't matter whether you are poor or rich, that is the circumstances you need. Because a revolution or a change is always created by issues and circumstances. Now we are getting into that boiling point. And that's why I'm thinking, if as it continues, we only need 3-4 years, and you'll see the pent-up anger coming out. Even in the US, not even here. Are you surprised in the US, for example, Hillary Clinton was expected to have a shoo-in run in the Democratic Party. But why comes Bernie Sanders took her all the way to the convention? Because there was a young group of millennials who were never considered. These are, in fact, most of them were still in college. They came out and they were enthusiastic. They didn't need anything except the circumstances. So my thinking is, when it comes to mentorship, how do we break out of that chain? We need a few to break out and show that it can be done. When you have someone like her heading an organization as an executive director with no godfather, that is the first step. If you have someone owning a law firm and a young guy running alone with no godfather, that is the start. So if the same spreads out within a short time, and you have a common platform where you share your common problems and common achievements, that is enough to draw in now the collective will of the young.
Sometimes you make me feel there's hope.
There is.
There is hope.
I have to agree with Kipto, because the beginning of Siasa Place was that we recognized there's a gap. We had people who were passionate about politics and the constitution. We had information, but how could we make this information accessible to young people through the phone, social media? So even like yesterday, we had a chat with Ikuru Court. What are you bringing to the young people? So we had a platform, not necessarily on media, on TV, but it was on Twitter.
They'll dangle the carrot and you'll go running behind them.
Exactly. So the media will come running after you now.
Eventually, that's what we are hoping for. So we have young people who are now creating the media narrative. What do we want it to be? Issues that we want to be put in the front line. But just to speak on a few things, when we do have forums, we also have young people who, quite frankly, are selfish. They want to be able to be successful now. They're not thinking about the future. And that is what is not bringing young people together. What is the vision of Kenya for young people? If we had one that we all rally behind, youth today would be united. Quite frankly, we would be very united. It would not matter who you are, where you're from. For us, this is the vision for our country, and that's what's lacking. And there's a saying that a lot of people like to use by Nelson Mandela, something about each generation has its vision that it must stand upon. And he says that. Exactly. So we use the constitution a lot because guess what? For the constitution to be implemented, it has to be our responsibility to want it implemented. As long as we are not concerned with it and it continues to like to be a book that is used for decoration, put on a shelf.
The powers that be.
Exactly.
It goes back to that point. The
Exactly.
powers that be and their willingness to cede that space. I think that's how we conclude this discussion. So let's talk about the powers that be and how do we find ourselves as a youth. And I'll start with Elisa. The powers and the trying to blockers, and how do we find ourselves?
I think consistency, as my fellow panelist Kibagendi says, we need to be consistent in whatever we are agitating for. We should not relent in our fight for being a part of what is happening. Stay on the cause and keep fighting, eventually we'll get there.
Okay, on the split screen Kasarani Stadium, that's Governor Darrow, who is returning his nomination papers to the IBC seeking that vital clearance. Remember, there have been questions that have been raised about Governor Kidero's integrity, so we'll see if he will get cleared. And obviously, the red card. You guys remember the red card campaign. He was also mentioned in that, but he is at the IBC with his running mate, Jonathan Mueke. Hopefully, he will get clearance to run for a second and last term as the governor of the great county of Nairobi, county number 47. So that's what's on your screen. And guys, it's very interesting. Raila Odinga attended this, right?
Yeah, it is interesting, but and you know that now fits into the narrative. If we can make national holidays to be apolitical, we would achieve so much. That's how you foster nationhood. That's how you foster patriotism.
You know, I wanted to ask this question, and I want each of you to tell me how to draw the lines, just briefly. How do you draw the line now that a political head is presiding over the celebrations? And remember, this is an election year. How do you draw that line? Because you have spoken to this several times, but how do you draw the line?
First, as he says, it's a good thing that the opposition leaders are in attendance. So maybe we need to clearly put it out there that no political talk about...
But how? How do you do that?
Maybe a quick answer to that. The president, it wouldn't be wrong, you know, it will be academic if we think he can speak of his achievement. But let the tone of the speech not just be painting the good and what my government said this will do, so vote for me. Rather, have this wholesome message. As you draw the achievements, which is expected, you know, you are accounting. The national holiday gives you a platform to account. As you account, go ahead and extort values that are national in nature. Talk about peace. Talk about the competition should be genuine. In fact, the best he can do, now that Raila is there,
to speak.
Call Raila to speak.
I think he will.
Yeah.
I think
you know, you can never be too sure. Look at the seating arrangements where he is.
He has pulled surprises several times.
Wow.
On that one, in terms of drawing the line, it's a little difficult. However, how we can pick this up is talk about the past, where we have come from, the challenges we have faced and how we've overcome them, and up to present, probably touch on what he has been able to achieve, but in a very subtle way, not in reference to what has the opposition done. That way, he'll be able to bring all Kenyans on board to realize this has been our journey. On the issue of the opposition leader being there, we need to realize Madaraka Day is not a government day. Madaraka Day is a day that is celebrated by Kenyans in terms of the independence date, which happens world over. And it will be celebrated even if it is the opposition that is going to take over government.
They'll celebrate and they'll want to invite the other side.
So it is not about government, it is about what we have achieved all through the 50 plus years that we've been in existence as an independent country. Another thing, I hope he'll be able to give the opposition presidential candidate an opportunity to speak. And I know him, I know his levels of wisdom. He'll pick up from what a majority of the people there will have said, and he understands the history of this country. That is what he's going to focus on. And of course, he will touch a bit on the upcoming elections in a very unique way. Yeah. And we hope that can happen from, you know, we've seen the combativeness of both ends, but I know when Raila Odinga is in a function where Uhuru Kenyatta is, he tends to be very calm, very collected, and he doesn't seem to antagonize his opponent, unlike the other side.
I'm just looking at the live pictures from the Nyeri Stadium to determine if the First Lady is there, then we'll know it's a sure sign to wind up. But we were talking about finding ourselves once again and building on our shortcomings as the youth and building on our strengths, our energy to build into 2022, because that will be the ultimate test if we have grown and developed and indeed at a position where we as the youth can now claim that position.
A quick answer to that is that we just need to get crushed. We shouldn't wait.
We just storm in.
No, you storm in. That is why the guys who've made it, I think we should also even look at a few stories and pick up from there. I read about the story of Mike Sonko, how he ended up becoming an MP Madaraka. It is said that allegations are that At that time, you had the Grand Coalition government. So he walked into the PM's office trying to seek audience and say that, why shouldn't ODM give me a ticket to run? And he was dismissed because he had, in fact, he was casual. And then walked over and quickly got a ticket for Kenya. No one talked about him. By then, the Grand Coalition politics was ODM, PNU. But within no time, he was the talk of the place, and he won, and that he's never shown back. So this is a guy who was never invited. This is a guy who's a disruptor. So if the young can take such an attitude, that is how you get it right. You know, a political space is not for the faint-hearted. It is not a place where it is choreographed, there is a program, nothing.
But we don't.
You come, you set agenda alone.
But we don't only, as the youth, have to fight for the political space. There are a lot of other things that are out here for us.
The way I look at it, just what you've said, you know, young people need to take over Kotu. You know Kotu?
We start from Kotu.
Not start. Yeah. We need to take over Kotu. We need to take leadership in these clergy organizations. We need all unions. And I like the medical practitioners.
With Dr. Oluga.
Yeah. You know, all of them from nurses to...
Under 35.
All of them are young people, you know. And that is what needs to happen across the board. And when it talks about storming and takeover, that is actually what needs to happen. But is it practical?
Is
the
it
only
possible?
People, it is possible. But is it practical?
practical.
The
It's
only
not practical.
people, it isn't. If you look at the people who've stormed and taken over, are very few. That is Raila Odinga and probably Sonko. Who else? Majority of these people have come in through camouflage and then probably built their own clout. If
Right.
you look at Alfred Keter, for example, he got in through a cartel, but he's now becoming his own person. You know? Yeah, that is what happened.
The DP William Ruto is at Nyeri, and that's Rachel Ruto also. That's a sure sign, gentlemen and ladies, that the president is about there. So I want us to wind up, and once again I want to thank you. But your parting shots, because I know I will take Nyeri shortly. Your parting shots.
My parting shot would be power concedes nothing without demand. So it is us, the youth, to get out there and do what we have to do to get what we want.
Power concedes nothing without demand.
Yes.
Okay. So it's up to the youth to get out there and fight for their space.
My parting shot would be on this historic Madaraka Day. As a young people, we just need to absorb the moment, try learn, and try know what nationhood is all about. Just try to learn about Kenya. We don't know so much about Kenya. That's why we are hoodwinked. That's why we always get it wrong. Knowledge is power. Information is power. So if we can use such an important period to just understand and try to just rethink and see what is our position, what do we have here, we'll get it right.
Okay, and Raila Odinga is just sitting right at the back of, someone mentioned about the sitting arrangements and making it impossible. Would you want to change your statement?
Why?
Because Raila Odinga is sitting just right behind Rachel Ruto.
Ruto,
Yeah.
Because maybe the initial shots, now that the place where they were quite open, and I expected all the other principals to walk in, coming alone again. I thought it would have been better.
But is the opposition, already the government was at the stadium, apart from the DP.
I would have preferred the whole team to come in terms of NASA coalition.
Oh, NASA
it would
coalition.
have been better for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Nelima.
Youth have the energy, they have the clout, but it would be futile without plan. We all watched the Arab Spring, and now the countries are suffering from Tunisia to Egypt because of the change of power and leadership. Even though it began on social media, we need to learn from other countries that perhaps we can bring change to our country. But in that moment, we must have a vision for our youth and also have a plan to be able to follow that through.
Okay. And crafting this vision is one of the biggest challenges.
Absolutely.
For the youth. And this is aided by the fact that we don't even have a place to stand. Yes. So before crafting a vision, we need a platform, and that's what CSA Place, for example, guarantees.
Yes, we hope. We are working on it.
Okay, Anthony.
First, I thank you for the opportunity of, it is through the media that we can be able to disseminate information that can inspire our fellow young people. To my fellow young people, for us to reclaim this country, for us to reclaim our fellow young people and even communities from hopelessness and despair, we need to unite. We need to be consistent, and we need to look at certain things even from the Bible, from issues to do with forgiveness, consistency, faith, and belief, so that we can be able to move the agenda that we have forward. I call upon fellow young people, because we are the instruments that get used to disrupt political processes. We ask our fellow young people to actually this time round push for agenda-based politics, so that we don't take our country back to what we saw in 2007. Thank you.
And obviously, looking at the 2017 elections, I've just remembered this, and I've seen a comment, someone saying that the 2017 election is also could be a precursor of what happened in 2007. Do you agree, as young people?
Not at all. We have, I think we've already gone over the issue of violence. ICC was a major factor, to the extent that I think for once political leaders are scared of the implications. Secondly, there's a disconnect. The political class really struggles to motivate and bring on board the voters. I don't think the same political class will have the ability to tell people to go fight. It will be very difficult.
I disagree.
I don't think so.
I disagree. And Narina.
Yes.
Yeah.
We already hear cases in particular places where people have been evacuated because of conversations as to if Raila does not win, or, it just seems like it's do or die. We've had that a lot.
Right.
So there are some supporters who are standing firm on that.
I also disagree.
I have to cut you short. I promise when the president comes, we'll have to cross over to Nyeri. This is a discussion that will continue. The most important question is, what are the youth getting in this? Let's cross over to Sheila Sendeo, who is in Nyeri. Sheila?
Asante sana Maroon Commandos. Charonyi ni wasi.
Well, the 54th Madaraka Day celebrations taking shape. A lot of the empty seats have now been filled, and we understand that the First Lady of the country, Margaret Kenyatta, is currently here, and so we expect President Uhuru Kenyatta will be here any minute now and kickstart these celebrations. Enoch, I don't know, from the people that we've spoken to, lots of expectations, of course, from Kenyans. This is a well choreographed, very well planned celebration to mark our self-determination, but it's a choreography, really. It's something that is well carefully planned. Do you get the sense from the people that you've interacted with that it's just a routine?
Thank you. As Sheila, as we speak of just seeing President Uhuru Kenyatta snailing into this venue here, and remember his arrival now marks the beginning of this ceremony, 54 years since Kenya gained her self-rule. And also, as you are talking about, some of the people we've talked about, they expect the president to talk highly on the high cost of living. Remember the things, how things have skyrocketed, especially the basic commodities, and so they expect that the president will still talk about it. But from the expectation that is also here is that this being the last holiday that the president will be leading the country ahead of the next general election, they expect that the president will actually highlight some of the issues, some of the projects his government has done in the last 4 years, and also what he expects or the promises that he makes to Kenyans ahead of the general election, Sheila.
And one other important thing to note, as the president does his lap of honor, as you mentioned, it's just 2 months to the election. And one important thing that has come up, we saw ODM leader and NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga making his way here to the celebrations. He said that he was going to come, and he's actually here. Coming at a time when there is a lot of questions about the country's unity. Of course, the eyes will be on the leaders themselves, what they say, what are they going to talk about, and how is that going to translate into how people play their politics going forward and going into the election.
True, Sheila, as you noted, for the last 4 years, Honorable Raila Odinga has missed quite a number of holiday occasions that have been led by the president. So him being here is significant enough that he's trying to send a message that ahead of the next general election, Kenya is one. That despite your political affiliation, people should know that this Kenya is a country, and a country is one, and the people, despite our inclination that we should remain as a country and the people should remain as one ahead of the next general election and even after the next general election. As you remember, during after the 1992 election and also 1997, 2007, most chaotic scenes were seen were witnessed after the announcement of results, especially the presidential results. So for the two guys here who have been touted as the front runners in this coming general election or this coming contest, it's significant enough that they be on the same platform ahead of the next general election and talk to Kenyans.
Of course, the question of unity, he drilled down on that the last celebrations which were in Nakuru at the Afraha Stadium. He spoke about national cohesion, the question of unity, which is of course going to be very important ahead of the election. But looking at his speech, because the eyes of all Kenyans, and indeed everyone who came out here for the celebrations, will be on the speakers, and especially the president. This could be an extension of a political campaign, in the sense that it's going to be a pre-election pitch to voters, trying to outline what they've done the last 4 or so years, and in a sense trying to get people on board their re-election campaign.
True. As Sheila, have you pointed out, it's very clear that the president will use this as a platform where he will launch. I know he launched his campaigns on Monday, but today, like this event, gives him another platform to relaunch his campaigns ahead of the next general election. So we expect that the president will bring out, we'll talk much about politics and ahead of the next general election. And as I told you, I told you earlier, that he probably will talk about his 4 years as the president of Kenya, what he has achieved, and what he thinks that he needs, or what he thinks that why he thinks that Kenyans should give him another term.
All right, it is the military's function now. Right now, the national anthem will be played, and we'll just let you hear it going on from the stadium.
Basi mkuu wa gwaride hii sasa anakuja kuweza kumuomba kwa heshima rais wetu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na amiri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi yote ya ulinzi aweze kuikagua gwaride hii. Anasindikizwa hivi sasa na mkuu wa majeshi ya ulinzi Jenerali Samson Mwathethe. Gwaridi ya jukwaa ukiongozwa na Sergeant Stephen Mutunga kuiondoa jukwaa la rais. Bendera ya kikosi hupewa heshima ya hali ya juu kabisa kama vile unavyoshuhudia pale. Hivyo basi unaomba mwananchi kila wakati unapokutana na bendera hiyo, tafadhali uweze kuipatia heshima inayostahili. Kama utakuwa umevalia sare za kiserikali, basi uweze kupiga salute kwa heshima ya bendera hiyo. Na ukikutana nayo barabarani, pia uweze kupatiana nafasi bendera hiyo iweze kupita. Asanteni. Basi hivi sasa mkuu wa gwaride hii anaomba ruhusa kuweza kuondosha gwaride hii uwanjani punde tu Mheshimiwa Rais atakapochukua nafasi yake kwenye jukwaa maalum. Ameshapewa ruhusa hiyo. wakiwa katika misururu mitatu sasa tayari kuondoka, na bendera ya kikosi sharti kuweza kuwepo mbele kabisa ya gwaride kama vile unavyoshuhudia pale, color officer wakiandamana na parade RCM. Ulivyosikia ni to your duties by the left quick march, ya kwamba baada ya gwaride ya kufana kabisa, wanajeshi hawa sasa wanaenda kujiunga na wenzao katika kuendelea kuimarisha usalama wa taifa letu, kuhakikisha kwamba mipaka yetu iko salama, anga letu liko salama, na hali kadhalika fuo zetu za bahari ziko salama. Mheshimiwa Rais, mkuu wa gwaride hii ni Luteni Kanali Christopher Tarus Boyd. Anayeongoza kikundi cha kwanza ni Meja Abraham Langat. Anaibeba bendera ni Luteni Collins Cheriot Chirchir. Bendera ya kikosi cha 9 cha jeshi la nchi kavu, Parade RSM, Warrant Officer 1 David Sumba Nyongesa. Kikundi cha pili cha jeshi la nchi kavu kinaongozwa na Captain Fred Kiachi Lokada. Kikundi cha 3 cha jeshi letu la wanahewa kinaongozwa na Meja Mugambi Muturi. Na kikundi cha 4 na cha mwisho jeshi letu la wanamaji kinaongozwa na Meja Lennox Ogake akisaidiana na Captain Chacha Nyamatiko. Parade Adjutant Captain Ishmael Mwagandi Ngala. Na waweka alama na upisha mwenzangu Senior Private Benson Misango aweze kuendelea na gwaride ya vikundi. Kwako Misango.
Gwaride la vikundi linaongozwa naye Meja Kennedy Ocheng akisaidiwa na Company Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 2 George Okoth. Kikundi cha kwanza kiko chini yake Luteni Kelvin Nyaga, wakiwa katika mabwanda mazito ya kikazi. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Dismas Ikai. Kikundi cha pili kiko chini yake Luteni Weldon Cheriot. Anayefunga nyuma Sergeant Ili Mwinyi. Kikundi cha tatu kinaongozwa na Luteni Pauline Maina. Wanajeshi wao wakiwa katika mabwanda mazito ya kikazi. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Mustafa Kimani. Hii company iko chini yake Meja Caroline Muhuru akisaidiwa na Company Sergeant Major Warrant Officer 2 Samuel Kipketer. Kikundi cha 4 kiko chini yake Luteni Winnie Elimui. Platoon Sergeant Alfred Rono. Kikundi cha 5 kiko chini yake Luteni Kelvin Sanne. Platoon Sergeant Michael Njia. Kikundi cha 6 kinaongozwa naye Luteni Faith Tanui. Platoon Sergeant Dennis Oka. Si company iko chini Special Police wakiwa katika magwanda yao mazito ya kikazi wanaongozwa na Inspector Peter Ozarigo. Platoon Sergeant Joseph Njogu Karanja. Kenya Prison Service wakiwa katika mavazi yao rasmi ya sherehe wanaongozwa na Superintendent Julius Obuya akisaidiwa na Chief Inspector John Kilongo Noka na Inspector Edwin Juguna. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Stephen Ouma. Kikosi hicho kitengo cha kina dada wanaongozwa naye Chief Inspector Stella Maris Munyao akisaidiwa na Inspector Harriet Mwende. Platoon Sergeant Damaris Mutua. Askari wa kupambana na ghasia katika magereza yetu wanaongozwa na Inspector David Lobey akisaidiwa na Sergeant Lodimo Dixon. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant John Kamau. Askari wa kupambana na uwindaji haramu wanaongozwa na Contingent Commander Assistant Warden 2 Zakari Gongeri akisaidiwa na Assistant Warden 2 Zefania Obuya. Platoon Sergeant Charles Kuraru. Kenya Forest Service, askari wanaolinda misitu yetu Mheshimiwa Rais wanaongozwa naye Chief Inspector Wilson Muru akisaidiwa na Sergeant Abdulisiun Sharif. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Grace Motike. Vijana wa huduma kwa taifa wanaongozwa naye Superintendent Shedrack Wasike akisaidiwa na Chief Inspector Obedi Kofa na Inspector John Njoroge. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Sirikoi Masai. Kikosi hicho kitengo cha kina dada katika mavazi yao rasmi ya sherehe wanaongozwa naye Chief Inspector Ann Njoroge akisaidiwa na Sergeant Francisca Monte Mutua. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Rose Adua. Vijana wa taifa wakiwa katika mabanda yao kikazi wanaongozwa naye Chief Inspector Enoch Nyaigora akisaidiwa na Sergeant Calvin Omolo. Anayefunga nyuma ni Sergeant Jackson Abua. Kikosi hicho kikiwa kina dada wakiwa katika mavazi ya kikazi wanaongozwa naye Chief Inspector Cecilia Njuki akisaidiwa na Sergeant Karen Andati. Platoon Sergeant Brinda Chao. Kwa Mheshimiwa Rais ni askari wa kaunti ya Nyeri wakiongozwa naye Senior Inspector Charles Mavyuha akisaidiwa na Sergeant James Mwani. Anayefunga nyuma ni Senior Sergeant Ephraim Waigwa. Wanaofuata ni wazimamoto wa kaunti ya Nyeri wakiongozwa na Fire Division Officer Paul Wamaki akisaidiwa na Station Fire Officer Charles Mungenyu na Fireman Johnson Jongo. Mwisho kabisa mweka alama jeshi letu la nchi kavu Sergeant Peter Koriri. Tambisha mwenzangu Gibson Mandawira aweze kuendelea.
Basi asante sana mwenzangu Benson Sango Bendi SGG ya KJ Tayari Martin Makadia na Moka. Senior Drum Major akiwa ni Warrant Officer 1 Lucas Okor akisaidiana na Warrant Officer 2 Ben Murray, Sergeant Rafael Kibisu na Corporal Hassan Mohamed. Mheshimiwa Rais, baada ya gwaride hii kuondoka uwanjani, tutapata hivi sasa tamasha za ndege zikiletwa kwetu hapa na jeshi letu la wanahewa. Kikundi cha kwanza, Mheshimiwa Rais, ni ndege aina ya Grob zikiwa ndege hizi ni ndege ambazo huweza kuwapa mafunzo marubani wetu kiwango cha msingi ama kwa Kiingereza basic trainer. Na kikundi kitakachofuata, kikundi cha pili, ni kikundi cha ndege zetu za kivita, ndege aina ya F5, ndege zilizo na uwezo wa kuruka kwa kasi sana kama vile unavyoshuhudia pale, lakini sio leo, zikiwa zinaruka kwa kasi ya kiasi tu, na ndege hizi zinaweza kubeba makombora mbalimbali, hususan kwa kuhakikisha kwamba anga yetu iko salama, kwa sababu anga huo ndio utakao hizi za ndege. Ningependa kuendelea kuwashukuru wote za kuhakikisha kwamba tamati zimefanya defense of zone Army Sergeant Officer 1 William Air Force Officer 1 Sergeant Major Nahaji Warrant Officer 1 Zioka Conrad Rafael Samuel Titus Murithi Joseph Leso Jacob Warrant Officer 1 San Wilson Wycliffe Epudak Warrant Officer Siele Warrant Officer 1 Simichi. Niaba ya wenzangu Major Douglas Gitonga na Major Samson Bwana Koro pamoja na Captain Kinywa, hivi sasa dada ambaye Constable Sara Mauti atakayetuelekeza kwa gwaride ya mascout na hadi katika St. John's Ambulance.
Shukran za dhati kaka Gibson Mwandawiro, Warrant Officer 2, kwa kunipa fursa ili niweze kuwaelekeza katika gwaride la wanaskauti wakiwa wameandamana na wana Girl Guide, bila kuwasahau wanashirika la St. John's Ambulance. Mheshimiwa Rais, wanaskauti wataongozwa na bendi ya wanafunzi wa shule ya msingi ambayo ni shule ya Wankan iliyo katika eneo la Ruiru ndani ya jimbo la Kiambu, ambayo ilibuniwa mnamo 1996. Ni bendi ambayo imejizolea tuzo chungu nzima kutokana na utumbuizaji wao ambao ni pekee, ambapo wanatumia vyombo mbalimbali katika kutumbuiza huko kama vile ngoma, tarumbeta, miongoni mwa vyombo vingine. Baadhi ya tuzo ambazo wameweza kujizolea Mheshimiwa Rais ni kama vile tuzo ya kitaifa ya muziki ya mwaka 2000 pamoja na tuzo la maskauti nchini mwaka 2013 miongoni mwa zingine. Wanaskauti hawa vile wanabendi hawa wameweza kujitambulisha ama kuonyesha vipaji ambavyo katika umri mdogo wanaweza kuvipalilia na kuvichochea, ishara tosha ya jinsi tutakuwa na wanamuziki siku za halafu iwapo wataendelea kuvipalilia zaidi. Mheshimiwa Rais, wanaskauti hawa ukiwatazama wamevalia sare ambazo ziko katika rangi tofauti tofauti. Ni sare ambazo zinaashiria masuala tofauti tofauti, kama vile ambao wameingia kwa sasa hivi kiwanjani wamevalia sare ambazo ziko na rangi ya kahawia ama ukipenda brown. Hao ni wale wanaskauti ambao wanatambulika kama wanaskauti wa nchi kavu. Wale ambao wanavalia sare za blue ni wale wanaskauti ambao wamepangwa katika kitengo cha wanaskauti wa majini. Wanaskauti hawa kwa fupi yao ni chama ambacho kilibuniwa mwaka 1910. Kiliweza kubuniwa katika la Pumwani ndani ya jimbo la Nairobi, naye marehemu Lord Baden. Ni chama kilicho na wanachama takriban 1,300 kutoka kote nchini, na wameweza kushirikishwa wakili na wake ama wasichana wavulana. Vile vile ni chama ambacho ndiposa uweze kuwa mwanachama ni sharti uwe kati ya miaka 6 hadi 26. Wamewagawanywa katika makundi mbali kulingana na sare zao. Vile nilivyokuwa nimewaeleza, wanaongozwa na wanabendi wa shule ya msingi ya Wanka, shule ambayo inapatikana katika eneo la Ruiru ndani ya jimbo la Kiambu. Anayewaongoza katika bendi hiyo si mwingine bali ni kijana Victor Kamau. Anabilingi chuma ambayo inawezesha wanamuziki kuelewa jinsi wanaendeleza ama ukenda kwa lugha ya kimuziki wanafahamika kama drameza. Victor Kamau anasaidia karibu naye Ami Zoana Mudhoni. Ni wanabendi ambao wanaendelea kusifika katika kutokana na jinsi wanaendelea kuonyesha ubabe wa vipaji vyao. Vile vile, Mheshimiwa Rais, tutakuwa na girl guide katikati ya hawa ambao waliweza ya kukabilisha ni kijana Victor Kamau. Ni wanabendi wa shule ya kibinafsi ya Wankan iliyo katika eneo la Ruiru. Yaliyo wana kundi la pili ambalo ni kundi la chipukizi, linashirikisha wanachama walio kati ya miaka 10 hadi 14, rangi yao ya nembo ikiwa kibichi. Vile vile kauli yao ikiwa ni uwe tayari. Mwanadada anayeongoza pale Patience Wamboi. Kundi la tatu ni kundi la Mwamba ambalo linaongozwa pale na mtoto Kesi Warigia, ambalo linashirikisha wanachama walio kati ya miaka 15 hadi 17. Yao ya nembo ikiwa udhurungi, kauli mbiu yao tazama. Kundi la 4 Mheshimiwa, kundi linaongozwa naye Harris, huku rangi ya nembo ni rangi ya chungwa. Vile vile kauli mbiu yao ikiwa ni huduma. Ni wanaskauti ambao kutoka maeneo tofauti humu, na sasa hivi Mheshimiwa Rais, ni wale niliokufahamisha ambao ni wanabendi wa Mazini, kwa sababu wamevalia sare hizo za blue. Wanaofuata nyuma ni Galgai. Kumbuka kikundi cha Galgai kilianzishwa miaka 97 iliyopita, kina hata wadogo walio kati ya miaka 3 hadi 6. Darasa la shule za chekechea wanafahamika kama Robo. zaidi walio kati 6 hadi 9 ambao wanafahamika kama brownies ni wale wanamhitaji kuwa katika daraja la msingi lakini za chini. Vile vile wanafuatwa na girl guide ambao wako katika daraja la juu za shule za msingi na wako kati ya miaka 10 hadi 14. Nyuma yao ni wasichana wa shirika la St. John's. Hili ni shirika Mheshimiwa Rais ambalo hushughulika na masuala ya kupeana huduma za dharura humu nchini. Wametolewa katika mashule tofauti tofauti ndani ya kaunti hii ya Nyeri. Ni wasichana ambao wanawakilisha tu baadhi ya ratiba za wana St. John's Ambulance ambao wameweza kuhakikisha kuwa wanatuonyesha jinsi wanapeana huduma zao humu nchini, kwani waliweza kubuniwa na kipengele cha 259 cha sheria za Kenya kwa lengo la kuboresha ubinadamu. Kumbuka, shirika hili la St. John's Ambulance hushughulika na mambo tofauti tofauti kama vile kupeana huduma ya kwanza kwa waliojeruhiwa, yani first aid. Vile vile wanapeana huduma kama za usafiri kwa waliojeruhiwa ama walio na maradhi, yani ambulance rescue services. Vile vile wanapeana huduma kama za matibabu za serikali, yani community health services, miongoni mwa huduma zinginezo. Ndiposa uweze kujiunga na shirika hili la St. John's Ambulance ni lazima uwe katika daraja tofauti tofauti, kama vile walio katika shule za msingi wanakuwa katika ratiba ya Dolphins, yani pombo, ambayo ni ya wanafunzi wa shule za msingi. Vile vile wale wa shule za upili wanakuwa katika ratiba za cadets, ilivyo kwa wanaotuonyesha gwaride lao siku ya leo, ambao kwa leo wametolewa shule mbalimbali za msingi ndani ya kaunti hii ya Nyeri. Vile vile hatuwezi kuwasahau walio katika vyuo vikuu, kwa sababu wanapewa fursa ya kujiunga na shirika hili na wanakuwa katika ratiba ya links, ambapo tuna mfano kutoka humu katika kaunti hii ya chuo kikuu cha Kimathi huku Nyeri. Na wakimalizia katika shughuli hiyo, Mheshimiwa Rais, ni wale wanabendi ambao ambao tutaweza kukuhakikishia siku zijazo watakuwa wanamuziki wa kutajika. Kila laheri kwa wote. Shukrani za dhati. Nachukua nafasi hii kumkaribisha ndugu Mike Gitone ili aweze kutuongoza kwa sehemu itakayofuata. Shukrani.
Nachukua fursa hii kumshukuru wenzangu ambao wametuongoza kwenye kipindi ambacho kimekwisha malizika. Ndugu Gibson na Mwadawiro Warrant of Satu, dadangu Sara Mauti. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa ruhusa yako nitaomba tusimame sote kwa heshima na taadhima kuu, tuwe watulivu kwa maombi mafupi, na nitaomba tutaweza kuongozwa na mzee Mathenge wa Iregi kutoka jimbo la Nyeri kwa niaba ya sala zetu za kimila. Bwana Mathenge wa Iregi.
Ngai Baba, nitwagucokeria ngatho ni undu wa gutwara hora rucini ruru rwa umuthe na watuhe kiheo kiega kiria gitaheanagwo ni andu othe a thi, nakio kiheo kiu ni kiheo kia muoyo. Ngai Baba, nitwagucokeria ngatho ni undu wa kuririkana itura riri ria Nyeri, ni undu wa kuhota gutuma andu othe moke guku na nigetha tuhote gucerehekea muthenya uyu wa umuthe wa Madaraka. Na nikio Ngai Baba twagucokeria ngatho tondu thi yothe ya Kenya iri haha thai thasa yai Ngai thai. Ngai Baba, nĩtũgũkũria wĩtĩkĩre kũigua mahoya maitũ, nĩamu Ngai Baba ũtarĩ ho tũtirĩ ho. We Ngai Baba mũrĩithi witũ, nĩtũgũgũcokeria ngatho nĩ ũndũ wa kũhe mũtongoria ũyũ wa bũrũri muoyo mwega na mũtumia wake ũrĩa ngatha ya bũrũri Ngai Baba, ona mũnyinyi wake ũrĩa marutithanagia wĩra nake Ngai Baba. Wĩtĩkĩre kũmatongoria no mahe rũrĩmĩ rwega rũrĩa rũrĩaragĩria andũ nĩgetha andũ makahota kũiguana. Thai thasa yai Ngai thai. Ngai Baba nĩtũkũhoya nĩ ũndũ wa kabineti yake ĩrĩa marutaga wĩra nayo, ona arĩa angĩ othe marutithanagia wĩra nao Ngai Baba. Wĩtĩkĩre kũmateithĩrĩria. Nĩtũgũcoka tũhoe nĩ ũndũ wa andũ arĩa angĩ marang'ang'anĩra ũhoro wa gũtongoria. Ũmahe thayũ na nĩgetha bũrũri ũyũ witũ wa Kenya ũgĩe na thayũ. Ngai Baba, reke tũgĩe na thayũ wothe kuma kĩambĩrĩria nginya mũthia. Hĩndĩ ĩno ya gĩthurano Ngai Baba, ndũkanareke Ngai Baba mũndũ arie ciugo itarĩ njega. Reke tũikare tũrĩ hamwe tondũ tũrĩ a nyina ũmwe ithuothe tũkiugaga thai thasa yai Ngai thai. Ngai Baba, tũkiuma haha umagarania na ithuĩ na tũkorwo twĩ hamwe nawe. Ĩtĩkĩra Ngai Baba kũrehe thayũ wothe bũrũri ũyũ wa Kenya. Thai thasa yai Ngai thai. Ngai Baba ikara hamwe na ithuĩ.
Nitamwalika Ustadh Kutwa Mohamed ambaye ni kadhi kutoka katika jimbo la Nyeri atuongoze kwa dua.
Let's pray. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise and thanks be to Allah, Lord of all the world, the compassionate, the merciful, judge of all the judges on the day of judgment. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help for each and everything. Guide us on the straight path, the path of those who have received your grace, not of those who have evoked your anger, nor of those who are astray. O Allah, as we approach elections, we pray for your mercies. Give us peaceful, free and fair elections. Give us leaders of your choice. Our mighty Lord, bless this country and its entire leadership. Give our leaders wisdom and power to lead this great country. We pray this believing that you are the mighty Allah. Amen.
Atakayefunga kurasa za maombi ni Askofu Mkuu Peter Kairo, Kanisa Katoliki, Jimbo Kuu la Nyeri.
Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amina. Mungu Mwenyezi, tumekusanyika hapa katika uwanja huu wa Kabiru-ini Agriculture Society of Kenya Showground kusherehekea Madaraka Day. Tangu tupate madaraka tarehe 1 mwezi wa 6 1964, tumemaliza miaka 53. Tumebarikiwa na mambo mengi mema. Mashule mengi yamejengwa ya msingi, ya upili, vyuo vikuu. Hivyo tunaendelea kupigana na ujinga. Umeme umeenezwa maeneo ya mashambani. Barabara nyingi zimetiwa lami na rais amezindua reli mpya kutoka Mombasa hadi Nairobi. Katika mawasiliano tumeendelea mbele. Kwa mfano katika redio, katika television, simu za mkononi, internet na M-Pesa. Utumishi wa serikali kwa umma umeenezwa kutoka serikali ya kitaifa hadi serikali ya majimbo. Tunakushukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kutuwezesha kutekeleza mambo haya muhimu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Lakini tungali tuna shida nyingi katika nchi yetu. Kwa mfano maradhi ya sukari na malaria yamezidi. Tumeharibu mazingira yetu na hali ya hewa imebadilika sana. Mungu Mwenyezi, twakuomba ubariki kila mmoja wetu ili tupende nchi yetu ya Kenya na tujitolee kuijenga, tukiongozwa na haki, ukweli, umoja, upendo na ushirikiano mwema. Twakuomba pia utubariki tunapojiandaa katika uchaguzi mkuu tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu ili uendeshwe kwa njia ya haki, huru na amani. Bariki wanataka kuchaguliwa ili wawe watu ambao watumia vipaji vyao kutumikia raia, kukuza maendeleo mbalimbali na kutuunganisha tuwe kitu kimoja badala ya kutenganisha. Barikia rais wetu Uhuru Kenyatta na makamu wake William Ruto ili watuunganishe tuwe kitu kimoja. Twakuomba wajalie viongozi wetu wa serikali na upinzani wazingatie maendeleo ya nchi yetu ya Kenya badala ya chuki, matusi na utengano. Wote walinde amani katika nchi yetu kama tunasoma Yohana 14:27 vile Yesu alisema, na waachia amani. Tunaomba haya yote kwa jina la Kristo Bwana wetu. Amina. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Amina.
Mheshimiwa Rais, baada ya maombi hayo mafupi, kwa ruhusa yako naomba tuketi. Mheshimiwa Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na Amiri Jeshi Mkuu wa Majeshi ya Ulinzi, Mheshimiwa Mama Taifa Margaret Kenyatta, Mheshimiwa William Ruto, Naibu wa Rais, na Mheshimiwa Bi Rachel Ruto, waheshimiwa Spika wa Bunge la Kitaifa na Spika la Seneti, Gavana wa Jimbo la Nyeri, mabalozi na maafisa wa kidiplomasia, wananchi wa Jamhuri tuipendayo ya Kenya na wageni wote ambao wamefika. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa niaba ya kamati ya andalizi ya tamasha hizi za sikukuu ya Madaraka makala ya 54, naomba unikubalie tuweze kuwaandalia burudani fupi ya nyimbo, muziki, sarakasi, densi, ngoma na hata ngonjera. Mheshimiwa Rais, ukinikubalia nitaomba niwaalike wenzangu watakao tuongoza kwenye kipindi hicho. Nimwalike Evangelist Wago Jiri kutoka Kameme FM, na vile vile nimwalike ndugu yangu Ken Wakoraya Inoro TV waweze kutuvalia njuga kipindi hicho kinachosalia. Mheshimiwa Rais.
Asante sana MC Mwenza kwa kutupa nafasi hii tuweze kuendeleza ratiba ya siku ya leo. Mheshimiwa Rais, nashukuru sana kuwa mbele yako siku ya leo tukiweza kuendeleza program ya leo ambayo ni entertainment na Evangelist Lucy Wangojiri.
Asante Mungu kwa yale yote itatendeka siku ya leo. Utukufu ni kwako, sifa katika jina la Yesu. Sinishaomba.
Hapo ni sawa. Mheshimiwa Rais, nilikuwa na uoga kidogo manake Evangelist Wangojiri akianza maombi huwa inamgharimu kama masaa 5 hivi. Lakini leo ametumia muda mchache sana.
Siombi maana maombi tushaomba. Wa Mheshimiwa Rais, wale tunakaribisha katika uwanja siku ya leo, hawa ni kina mama kutoka sub counties 25 kutoka Nyeri, 600 women, wamama 600 ambao wametoka sub counties tofauti katika county ya Nyeri na wameweza kuletwa pamoja na county government ya Nyeri.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa heshima kuu na taadhima naomba unipe ruhusa tuwakubarishe akina mama hawa ambao ni wazazi wetu wa tutumbuize na wimbo mmoja ambao unahusisha Mugoyo, Muhiro, Mushungwa na Getiro.
It is not Mugoyo, it is Mugoyo.
Mugoyo.
You know, lazima tuiweke Kikuyu ile kwa sababu analeta Mugoyo. So Mheshimiwa Rais, hawa kina mama ni 600 wote.
Ndio.
Na wale wameletwa mahala hapa na county government ya Nyeri. Wimbo ni Mugoyo.
Asante. Asante.
Mugoyo, na ile ingine Muhero, na ya tatu Mushungwa, na ya 4 ni Getiro. Wa mama karibuni.
Kabiru-ini Kenyatta wa Muigai moya kyo adera digi eba kegetegereria Uhuru marena Ruto madena mbele ai madena mbele aya ni mwana wa mauma wana githomo ndiathomire baba kwereire omutito agetha wiathi muno anyomerera haruna mwathani wathiragira ngiuna karuna ngiuna mugongo haruna mwathani wathiragira aya ndaguthaitha uigue uhuru ndakwĩra oi gũciarĩte goro mũciĩ-inĩ wa Kamĩtĩ oi ririkana ngĩna wĩra twarutire oi wagũthambia mwana Kamĩtĩ hatirĩ maĩ oi ha 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 nĩrie nyina wa Ũhuru kũmata gĩciara Ũhuru ndaikarĩire ndumĩra mũtĩ ĩngĩrũmwo mũno makĩũmĩrĩria hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra ngiuna karuna ngiuna mũgongo hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra ngiuna karuna ngiuna mũgongo hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra aya marikano merĩ no Mwangi na Irũngũ marikano merĩ no Mwangi na Irũngũ oi marikano merĩ Nyakĩnyua ndamwĩra oi mũtũrĩte Nyeri nĩ gũciara kwanyu ĩnĩniĩ gĩciara Ũhuru ndaikarĩire ndumĩra mũtĩ ĩngĩrũmwo mũno ngĩũmĩrĩria hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra ngĩrũmwo mũno ngĩũmĩrĩria hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra ngĩrũmwo mũno ngĩũmĩrĩria hau no mwathani wandĩragĩra.
Asante sana, tuwapigie makofi tafadhali. Asante sana, tunawaomba mketi mahala hapo tu mlipo, tukiwasubiri wenzetu walioko kule nje wapate nafasi ya kujiunga na nyinyi. Kwa wakati huu tukiendelea, Mheshimiwa Rais, kama vile umeona ni nyimbo za kitamaduni na ni nyimbo nzuri sana. Wangonjiri najua unazifahamu tena zaidi.
Naziona kabisa, najua mimi kitabo kile, najua hizi utamaduni wa Kenya na tunajifurahia kuwa wa Kenya. Lakini nyinyi siku hizi mnaimba zile zingine mmesahau na zile.
Siku hizi tuko bazokizo na pia tuna kamati ya chini.
Sasa mna kamati ya chini.
Ndio, mambo ndivyo ilivyo. Najua wanafunzi kule wanaelewa vipi.
Najua wanafunzi wanashangilia mahala pale. Tunapoendelea, Mheshimiwa Rais, tuko na kijana mmoja anajulikana kama Juma Eid, ametoka Kwale County.
Mheshimiwa Rais, kijana huyu ni kijana mchupavu, ni marenga msifika na ni mtunzi wa mashairi. Analo shairi lake siku ya leo ambaye angependa kutuonyesha talanta yake. Mheshimiwa Rais, shairi lake linaitwa
Kenya imepiga hatua.
Na ukweli Kenya imepiga hatua.
Vijana wanapopiga makofi kule tunapoendelea nikiado aito makofi, shangwe na vigelegele jamani. Thank you. Oni ongo niwega. Thank you Juma.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, naanza kwa jina lako, Madaraka bila hofu ulitupa waja wako. Kenya mekuwa tukufu, umesheheni pambazuko, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Zamani nakumbukia mashujaa walopita, muangali jitolea Madaraka tukapata. Leo tunashangilia Wakenya tawajibika, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Awali tuliteseka hospitali, mashuleni, viwanda vilifungika, kizana cha majumbani, usalama wa mashaka, usafiri kawa duni, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. 2013 tukaomba kwa kudusi, abariki Kenya yetu, kiongozi awe nasi, akatupa Mola wetu uhuru wetu raisi, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Maendeleo endelevu Kenya nzima umegawa, tena kwa ukakamavu na kuweka mambo sawa. Wanokuisi mchovu sisiri wamepagawa, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Ahadi zako si feki, ni kweli metekeleza, mashinani tola keki, umeme umeneza, mashule yetu andiki paka talishi za cheza, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Analogi tumeaga digitali siku hizi, Kenya reli imekuja ya kisasa si ajizi, kwa miaka tulingoja na sasa meanza kazi, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Afueni kwa wamama zimejengwa maternity, wajifungua salama bwerere bila senti, imeboreshwa huduma katika kila kaunti, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Umekwisha uskota bara kote hadi pwani, hati miliki mepata Mombasa kule Likoni, Kakamega na Taveta Vihiga na Ukambani, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Hongera wetu raisi, majeshi meimarisha, na vikosi vya polisi vyote umeviboresha, usalama upo nasi, ugaidi mesitisha, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Dhahiri mewajibika twajionea bayana, viwanda vimefufuka biashara kila kona, ajira zaongezeka kuwafaidi vijana, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Asomo na uongozi ni kipofu alo macho, na kama si usingizi ni kijicho alo nacho, uhuru mchapa kazi tuacheni chokochoko, Kenya yetu inapaa uhuru twa kupongeza. Kila kilicho kizuri ndugu tukipe pongezi, Kenya izidi nawiri, taifa lipande ngazi, tuzidi kuomba heri, tuepuke uchochezi, sherekea Madaraka, Kenya amepiga hatua. Kaditama nimetua hadhara nimeyaweka, bongo nimezifungua malenga wa uhakika, tukiacha kubagua Kenya mbali tutafika. Kenya idumu daima, ya Ilahi twakuomba.
Asante sana, tupigie makofi. Kweli Kenya imepiga hatua, ukweli si ukweli?
Ukweli kabisa, na unaona ametoka Kwale, pengine amekuja jana na gari la moshi ile ya sitima bwana.
Ningependa kuita vile inaitwa, lakini unajua kuna shida ya matamshi ya lugha. Naweza sema reli ikuwe si reli, ni reli. Sasa singependa kujiaibisha mbele ya Mheshimiwa Rais.
Haya, na ninaona Mheshimiwa Balala amecheka, umemwona amefungua kinywa, ni kwa sababu mjamaa ametoka Mombasa pwani. Mheshimiwa Balala naona kinywa sasa amefurahi.
Yeye alikuwa anaelewa ile lugha kwa.
Haya, shangwe na vigeregere tunapoendelea. Doa Nyeri mutiga atosonole, mko wapi? Na sasa Mheshimiwa Rais, wale wanaingia kwa uwanja, wakati huu ni muungano wa walimu wa muziki.
With your permission, Your Excellency, sir, and with a lot of humility, nikubarishe ni introduce kwaya ya muungano ya walimu ambao pia ni wakaguzi ambao tunawaita adjudicators, ni maprofesa wa muziki, Mheshimiwa Rais, na wimbo wao unaojulikana kama Mungu nifanye chombo cha amani.
Na unajua hii ni set piece yenye wanaimba katika taifa la Kenya, different schools, yote set piece. Na sasa wanaleta ule wimbo composed ama imetungwa na mwalimu Sylvester Otieno kutoka Kenyatta University, who is also a trainer. Mimi yangu namwambia mwalimu Sylvester Otieno, Nyasaye omedi moko.
Asante.
Kiudogeidheria. Haya. Endelea sawa, karibuni. Mungu nifanye niwe chombo cha amani. God make me an instrument of peace.
Kizungu hicho.
Hallelujah. Unasema amen namna gani?
Amen. Twende.
Mungu nifanye niwe chombo cha amani yako, nisambaze amani duniani kote. Mungu nifanye niwe chombo cha amani yako, nihubiri amani kwa Wakenya wote. Walipo chuki na ugomvi nilete upendo, ili Wakenya wote waishi kwa nisambaze amani duniani kote, nifanye niwe chombo cha amani yako, nihubiri amani kwa Wakenya wote. Natamani upendo usambae kwa Wakenya wote, ningependa upendo usambae kwa Wakenya wote. Natamani amani isambae kwa Wakenya wote, ningependa amani isambae kwa Wakenya wote. Natamani umoja usambae kwa Wakenya wote, ningependa umoja usambae kwa Wakenya wote. Wakenya wote.
Asante sana, tuwapigie makofi jameni.
Wow, wanapotoka muungano wa walimu wale, Mungu nifanye niwe chombo cha amani. God make me an instrument of peace. Kwa hivyo Ken wako raya, unaporudi kule Inoro TV,
Ndio.
Royal Media Services.
Ndio.
Kinenea wale watu nawaambia, please Kenyans, wacha tuwe chombo cha amani.
Pia wewe kwa upande kule Kameme, ukirudi waambie kwamba hashtag yetu kutoka leo ni kwamba Mungu atufanye
Tuwe
chombo cha amani. Tuwapigie makofi tena wanapoondoka. Kwa wakati huu, Mheshimiwa Rais, tunakuomba kwa unyenyekevu utukubalishe milango yote ifunguliwe ili Wakenya walio kule nje waweze kuungana na wenzetu walio hapa karibu na jukwaa. Pia pale tunawaomba tuweze kuingia kwa njia ya utaratibu tena zaidi na heshima kubwa sana.
Actually, Mheshimiwa Rais alikuwa anauliza watu wale wamesimama mpaka kwa miti si wakubaliwe kuingia hapa. Weko takora rohoini. Najua mimi niko ndani ya roho.
Unajua,
naona tu Rais anasema milango ifunguliwe, wote waingie, wanakuja hapa nyuma ya hawa.
Naogopa kusema amen kwa mambo yote sababu najua nataka niokoke sasa hivi.
Lazima tunapoendelea tunamuinua Mungu. Ni Mungu amefanya taifa la Kenya liwe vile tulivyo siku ya leo. Hallelujah.
Amen. Asante sana. Kwa wakati huu Mheshimiwa Rais ukitukubalisha, bado watu wakiendelea kuingia, tunaye mzee heshima zaidi, mzee Wagadhuma.
Wagadhuma.
Ukitukubalisha Mheshimiwa Rais.
Mzee Wagadhuma ako 75 years old.
Na amekuwa akiwa ndani ya muziki for 54 years.
Miaka 54. Kwa hivyo vile Madaraka Day tunasherehekea miaka 54. Pia huyu mzee Mheshimiwa Rais mzee Wagadhuma miaka 54 amekuwa anatuga nyimbo mingi sana katika taifa la Kenya na ana perform siku ya leo the Kikuyu oldies za kitambo. Twadhiaga tukenete
Wangoji wagoa
digegoa you know sinikusema tu wanafurahi na wale mnaingia moke nete rugendo ri rwega tugioka na tugicoka.
Asante bila kupoteza wakati.
na twakinya kanjikeru tugekora kaiyurite ndoithia kiuga tuike ndaraca gutire waire ndoithia kiuga tuike ndaraca gutire waire na tuthiaga tukenete tugacoka tukenete rugendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka rugendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka. aciari amwe na ciana makĩrwo nĩ make kambĩ nao makiuga nĩmekũmĩaka inya ũragĩra kũingĩ nao makiuga nĩmekũmĩaka inya ũragĩra kũingĩ na twakinya kambĩ ndathi tũgĩkora wa gathuma agĩtwĩra ikaraia ngamũmathĩre kĩraikũ agĩtwĩra ikaraia ngamũmathĩre kĩraikũ twaigua ũguo nĩtwakenire gũtirĩ gĩtatũiria kĩngĩ twaninĩte ciumia igĩrĩ tũtarĩ twakunda kĩndũ twaninĩte ciumia igĩrĩ tũtarĩ twakunda kĩndũ na tũthiaga tũkenete tũgacoka tũkenete rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka twathiathia anini tũgĩkora na kerĩ wa mbere nĩ wahome ũcio ũngĩ tũtiamũmenyire tondũ arĩ wagatung'ang'a ũcio ũngĩ tũtiamũmenyire tondũ arĩ wagatung'ang'a na marĩkia kũmũraga mũtumia ũmwe akĩrĩra agĩtwarĩra cimũriboti mũtumia ũcio agĩthamio agĩtwarĩra cimũriboti mũtumia ũcio agĩthamio na twathiathia anini tũgĩkora kamũthuri gakiuga nĩgekugamu na nũra kiuga kareko koige kũnyithanio na thirũgi na nũra kiuga kareko koige kũnyithanio na thirũgi gĩtheri kĩa rokoani kĩarugĩtwo na ndiramu na nyũngũ igĩrĩ cia ũgĩkũyũ itugatige tumarĩgu na nyũngũ igĩrĩ cia ũgĩkũyũ itugatige tumarĩgu na twathiathia anini tũgĩkora ng'ondu ĩkuĩte wa ng'ombe akiuga tũtikũmĩrĩe tũtikanyitwo nĩ thaahu wa ng'ombe akiuga tũtikamĩrĩe tũtikanyitwo nĩ thaahu na tũthiaga tũkenete tũgacoka tũkenete rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka rũgendo rwitũ rwarĩ rwega tũgĩthiĩ na tũgĩcoka.
Asante sana Wagadhuma, tumpigie makofi tafadhali jameni. Tumpigie makofi.
Wagadhuma akiendelea na uibaji.
Ati twathire tukenete.
We were going being very excited.
Na tukirudi.
And we were coming getting very excited.
Naona hiyo ni kama ile safari ya jana kutoka Mombasa mpaka Nairobi.
Ni kama safari ya jana kutoka Mombasa pwani unaongea kaki hiyo pwani
Hawajua mimi nimeishi pwani sana.
Mimi nimeishi Muranga ndani. Sasa tuendelea kusherehekea Madaraka, Mheshimiwa Rais. Kwa ruhusa yako ningeweza kuwauliza wale tumesimama kule tuweze kuketi. Wale wote tumeingia katika uwanja. Andũ aitũ twamũthaitha mũtigatuconore. Wale tumeingia kwa uwanja ili tuweze kumuona mzee Kamaro anapoendelea na wimbo wake. Kwa hivyo wale wamesimama kule.
Ukweli kabisa, wakati huu ni wa Kamaro, ni mzee aliyesifika akaheshimika na nyimbo zake zikawa za mafunzo kwa watu wote, wawe wanasikia lugha yake ama lugha zingine, watu wanapenda nyimbo zake. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa ruhusa yako tumpe wakati huu ama nafasi hii Kamaro atuchezee nyimbo moja ama mbili.
Na kama hajaingia wako raya, tuweze kuambia watu waketi kuna watu wanasubwa kule nyuma, waweze kuketi ndani. Kwa kwe modo wetigirete Ngai, kama uko hapa na unamheshimu Mungu na ogopa Mungu, maana mahala tumefika kama taifa ni kwa sababu ya neema na wema wake Mwenyezi Mungu. And we can do nothing without God. Hatuwezi fanya lolote bila Mungu, hatuwezi acha Mungu nje ya yale inaendelea. Tafadhali jameni tuweze kuketi.
Asante Mheshimiwa
Mr.
Rais.
Kamaro, 78 years old. Miaka
Nekenyeria yakwa ndahuragirwo kana neria itu mwahunyerera yenaini otathara tetari mwene kuma mothe Kenya ngomene Ngai nguria yahurirwo ngengereniki akorwerethire nenjerwo ndihe ntondoria wariho nitwarire na thakame nyingi Ngai arogumio. Njetereire munyumbulire tharaite no nere kwitare mutegi na mwachogia ndeto yanywa kagera nere kwanwo ni aka ndere ericha kuigwa taingerera ndaririkana togo ikeirie meteo gatutetere nare une Kenya woha mugoto ngurio komiendi yako Kenya ya Ngai. Nechana na dhuri onatumia korwa wale Nairobi hinde ya pawa no menyo dhama kile wangai ngurio dhama kioyo mokinyeteku na gotiri ongetha makatangai mbia mole nacio na ithaka nene wakahare akwire agecharia ngemi. Dawe orie na ngoro mbarenge toreka we tondore mbia nyoko haichangara wa na ithuthire uria thagamite kana ni nyamu atongoria kae mwariganirwo nekerumi kia njomo uria ore irima Kenya ti moiretu monywire njoi uria mekundete ataikio narua.
Bado tukiendelea na mzee Kamaro atupe wimbo mmoja ili tuweze kuwa tukiendelea. Ni Darega, ni wimbo wake mtamu.
Umekataa.
Amekataa.
Na unajua nyimbo zake mingi sana.
Mimi kweli
kumomothe mwendwane Darega kwaria nonge riria turi nawe ona korwo ni wandera cianyu ni Darega na ndikwenda kioria onjera ngoyo ne kasini yaku na ne wochio watwarwo rumande te tondo ira warutwo igotine marathe changanaga ni undu waku pate mwana thie na kende murwaru na rekorwo ni agutwarwo kamiti ni Darega guchokwo na thutha ona nugu ciarega ni toire githe tondo uhoyaga rutha agutware thenema cia wendo ngari oirirwo ngoiga ni kirumi ni Darega ona thenema icio
Asante sana mzee Kamaru. Asante sana, tunashukuru sana kwa wimbo wako.
Na mimi nyimbo mingi ni darega igine jerajo
Kenya jeru.
Serina wito.
Ama ugatioe. Tukae gukiria muhu. Na todo mugucokagerio haria wokira. Muthamaki witũ twendete Uhuru wa Jomo Kenyatta. Aini ni marenda guka gukwira othe mari thutha waku. Mwaka ũyũ nĩo magũtwacira.
Asante sana mheshimiwa, makofi sana. Na Mheshimiwa Rais, jana nilikuona wakati ulikuwa safarini kuja Nairobi, nikamkumbuka mzee Kamaru. Safari yake last time alienda Mombasa haikuwa nzuri, manake alikuwa ameenda kuona girlfriend. Alafu akapata zile mambo alipata huko.
Alikuwa na date. Ni wimbo
aliimba. Wanjiraga njuke nyone mbisha nama. Ni vile nimeokoka sasa.
No ine thine wa roho hane tari kuhonoka.
Hane tari gospel.
Tari gospel. Alikuwa naimba kule kwa sababu alipewa date akaenda kuona msichana wake. Lakini akiwa mahala pale msichana ako na mtu mwingine. Sasa ndio anasema nimekataa.
Akamwambia.
Na tena
Diko ino no tuko.
Hata aenda na usiku.
Kondekeria ikoni athienge onaga.
Wisha maneno.
Asante, tumpigie Kamaru makofi sana.
Na sasa kama vile Kamaru anaimba amekataa, nasi wana Kenya tumekataa kukosa kujitokeza tarehe 8.
Ukweli kabisa.
August 8.
Ni ukweli kabisa.
Tumekataa kukaa kwa boma.
Asante Mheshimiwa Rais. Sababu muda umetukimbiza sana. Tunaomba tumuite Vincent Ogidi kutoka kule pande za Busia, na Mheshimiwa Rais ukitukubalia atafanya wimbo wake kwenye jukwaa pale, na wimbo wake unajulikana sana zaidi, unajulikana kama Mama Muraki.
Alianza uimbaji kule St. Peter Mukumu TDO College na sasa anajulikana kabisa. Mrembe bosi. Mrembe bosi.
Tumpe nafasi Mheshimiwa Rais.
Makofi watu wa Nyeri jameni, nikie kujo norado ito.
Asante sana Vincent Ogidi kutoka pande za Busia. na wimbo wako mtamu sana.
Na ile
Mama
wimbo
Mulai.
watu wanaimba hivyo, ni mimi peke yangu nilikuwa na dance. Nike kioruna adwaya.
Watu hawakuelewa hiyo style ya mabega.
Unafanya tu namna hii ama tunaingia kuambia taya nje Yesu, nikisema Yesu mulaiko Yesu, maana katika Kenya tuko beyond boundaries.
Ukweli kabisa, na tunawashukuru nyinyi wote mlioweza kufika kwenye hafla za leo za Madaraka Day. Mungu wa baraka awazidishie zaidi. Mimi hapa tukitia kikomo entertainment jetago Ken wa Kuraya.
Na hashtag yetu siku ya leo wa Kenya, tunaomba Mungu atufanye tuwe vyombo
vya amani.
Tuige thayo kuria gwethe tugukorwo. Na mimi najulikana kama Lucy wa Gojiri Kameme FM, itahari ya moyo, Sunday morning. Ngai aromurathima. Thank you.
Asante.
Wakati huna mwarika mwenzetu ndugu Mike Getone atuongoze kwa sehemu inayofuata. Mungu awabariki. Mungu abariki Kenya.
Wametutoa mabibi na mabwana, nikiwashukuru wenzangu ambao wametuongoza kwenye kipindi hicho. Mheshimiwa Rais, naomba nichukue fursa hii niweze kutoa shukrani zetu za dhati kwa niaba ya kamati ya andalizi ya sherehe hizi iliyoko chini ya ofisi yako. Niwashukuru wote ambao wamewezesha tamasha hiyo kuweza kufana, hususan nikishukuru tume ya kudumu ya muziki iliyoko chini yako Mheshimiwa Rais kwa maandalizi hayo. Nishukuru idara mbalimbali katika jimbo letu la Nyeri, wakuu mbalimbali wa eneo hili kwa kufanikisha sherehe hizi muhimu kwa matayarisho kabambe. Ningependa kuwashukuru wote ambao wamekuwa washikadau katika masuala ya ufawidhi, bila kumsahau Warrant Officer 2 Gibson Mwadawiro, dadangu Sara, Lucy Wangojiri, Ken wa Koraya. Na vile nichukue fursa hii kushukuru director wetu Daktari pamoja na Bwana Wanjohi kwa kutupa na fursa ya kuongoza kipindi hicho. Na kushukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kwa hata kunipa fursa siku ya leo kuongoza ratiba yako. Na naomba kwa heshima sasa Mheshimiwa Rais uniruhusu nimkaribishe gavana wa jimbo la Nyeri, Balozi Samuel wa Madhai, azungumze kwa kifupi Mheshimiwa Rais, kisha mwalike naibu wa Rais Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Asante Mheshimiwa Rais.
Mheshimiwa Asante sana. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, Your Excellency, First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, Your Excellency, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Ruto na Bibi Rachel Ruto, wa Kenya wenzangu, Ngai nĩ mwega na hĩndĩ ciothe. Bwana asifiwe. Bwana asifiwe tena. Your Excellency, umuthi nĩ mũthenya wa gĩkeno mũno thĩinĩ wa Nyeri County na thĩinĩ wa Mount Kenya Region. Tuko na furaha tele kwa kukuona hapa Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa sababu umetutembelea siku hii ya Madaraka Day. Watu wa region hii ndio walikuwa uko msituni kufanya ile vita kali ya kuleta uhuru hii Kenya yetu. Tunasema asante sana kwa wazee wa Maumau, wale walikuwa huko msituni, wale waliongozwa na Dedan Kimathi, Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, Field Marshal Muthoni Kirima, General China, General Mathenge Miroge na watoto wao ndio wako hapa leo. Matigari ma Jirogi muri guku. Muri kuo. Nimukenete kuona uhuru. Mukwenda tumwire atia. Your Excellency, these people wameniambia nikuambie wale watu wagali wanakaa huko vijijini, huko colonial villages, wanataka uangalie na macho mzuri. Andũ acio matũraga icagi-inĩ, Mheshimiwa Rais, no ngũrie kũngĩhoteka maheo title ya kũrĩa maikaraga tondũ nĩ marũĩire ũhuru. Hau ni hega. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwa sababu tunaelekea uchaguzi, mimi kama gavana wa Nyeri nataka kukuhakikishia ya kwamba wao wote, unaona watu wao wote watakupatia kura. Hiyo ni kweli. Na mimi kama gavana wa Nyeri nitasuguka hii county, na ikiwezekana nitatoka nje ya county hii kutafutia Uhuru kura. Your Excellency, before Governor Gachagua died, he had told the Nyeri people that all the votes in Nyeri will be yours. That is a pledge that the governor pledged to us, and we are going to fulfill that pledge. Nimugwitikira wira wa Uhuru uthie na mbere. Uhuru miaka 5 na Governor Ambassador Mathai mutanipatia miaka 5. Mutanipatia miaka 5. Asante sana. Sasa it is my honor and a privilege to welcome the Deputy President to take over from here. Asante sana wananchi, Ngai amurathime.
Mheshimiwa kiongozi wetu na rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, mama wa taifa, Mama Margaret Kenyatta, ndugu viongozi wote wenzangu na watu wa Nyeri, hamjambo. Andu wa Nyeri moriega. Ndugu zangu wa Kenya, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Mheshimiwa Rais, kwanza kwa niaba ya sote tunaofanya kazi chini yako kwa serikali ya Jubilee, tunakushukuru sana kwamba uliamua ya kwamba sherehe za kitaifa hazitaadhimishwa peke yake kule Nairobi, ukasema ya kwamba itaanza kutembezwa kwenye counties zetu, na ndio sababu siku ya leo kwa mara ya kwanza sherehe ya kitaifa inafanyika hapa Nyeri. Umewapa wananchi wa Nyeri nafasi ya kujionea kimasomaso kwa macho yao zile sherehe ambazo kawaida wanaziangalia kwenye runinga. Leo wako hapa wenyewe in attendance. Mheshimiwa Rais, hii ni baadhi ya mambo umefanya kuleta sehemu zote za Kenya na Wakenya wote wa jamii zote pamoja. Mimi nikiwa naibu yako ni mshahidi kwamba pale mwanzo wa serikali hii ulitueleza ya kwamba ni lazima tufanye bidii vile wale walioanzisha taifa letu la Kenya walifanya bidii, wakasimama pamoja bega kwa bega kukomboa taifa letu kwenye minyororo ya ukoloni. Pia na wewe ukatuambia tutasimama pamoja bega kwa bega kukomboa taifa letu kutoka siasa za chuki, za mkawanyiko na siasa za ukabila, na badala yake tujenge daraja ya urafiki na undugu na umoja baina ya jamii zote za taifa letu la Kenya. Na mimi, Mheshimiwa Rais, I want to say I am very proud to be a member of your team, that we are engaged in uniting this country, building the bridges of friendship and partnership and unity and brotherhood amongst all the people of Kenya. Ya pili, Mheshimiwa Rais, yesterday was a very special day. At the eve of this Madaraka, under your leadership, this country and God standing for us and for every Kenyan has made it possible for the transformation of this country to go on. Yesterday was special because we replaced the old Lunatic Express, as it was then called, with the Madaraka Express that has a purpose for transforming this country and industrializing our nation. That adds on to the list of what God has enabled us as a Jubilee administration to do for this country. It joins the list of referral hospitals that are now present in every county. It joins the list of hundreds of technical training colleges that are built around the country and are now being equipped. It joins the list of thousands of kilometers of tarmac that is being rolled out in every corner of our republic. And of course, the thousands of young people recruited into our security forces to secure our country, our lives, and our prosperity. I am proud also to say that it joins millions of mothers who today give birth without having to pay. 1.2 million of them this year. And it also joins the 1.5 million children of Kenya in Form 4 and Standard 8 who today will not pay for their examination fees. And there are 6 million Kenyans today who have access to electricity who did not when you took over. Mr. President, not to forget the billions of shillings that we are spending in our counties to transform our regions and lives across our republic. On this Madaraka Day, I want to say that the entirety of purpose, from the colleges to electricity, to the railway, to the roads, is for the single purpose for us to industrialize our country, create value for our farmers and our producers, and create millions of jobs for our young people. Your Excellency, I dare say the transformation of Kenya is not just on course. The transformation of Kenya has not just picked momentum, but I dare say it cannot be delayed, it cannot be distracted. In fact, it is unstoppable. Na Wakenya watakapokwenda kwenye uchaguzi mkuu ujao, they will be making a choice between the performance track record under the Jubilee administration and that of our competitors. And I want to say on this very important day that we want to do this peacefully, because this is our only country. We don't have a spare one, and we don't have another one. With those many remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my humble duty and privilege to request the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of our Defense Forces, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, to make this 54th Independence Day speech here in Nyeri. Mr. President, sir, please.
Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana. Wenzetu wa kaunti ya Nyeri, Wakenya wenzangu, niruhusu kwanza nisome hii speech kwa lugha ya Kizungu. As we say that today we celebrate our right to govern ourselves. And that right was not given to us. It was a right that we fought for. And Nyeri, this county of heroes, gave us some of the most valiant warriors in that war. Our monumental victory in the War of Liberation from the colonial government was achieved because we had men and women who, on their own volition, sacrificed their lives so that we would be free to govern ourselves. Indeed, on behalf of the people of Kenya, I pay tribute to the heroes from Nyeri County and to every other veteran of the Mau Mau War, and indeed to all other patriots from all corners of this country who fought and shed blood so that we could be free. Our elders won that bitter war because they were united in a common goal to liberate our nation. We have built on their legacy, building a country that has been an island of peace and stability in this region, and indeed in the continent of Africa. I call upon each and every one of us to always be careful and not to allow those who would wish to destroy our peaceful nation. We must, as a people, distinguish between genuine and legitimate desire for change from its exploitation by short-sighted and cynical leaders who would use us for their own selfish ends. A peaceful and prosperous nation needs to be nurtured and protected by a united people. We must learn from our past and shun those who would divide us on ethnic or religious lines. Our forefathers knew that political independence, though necessary, was insufficient to guarantee our prosperity and peace. Equally vital, they knew, was economic independence. We, their sons and daughters, have sought to build the social and economic institutions under which our people will prosper. In the decades since we attained self-rule, there is real progress to show for our efforts. Our welfare and livelihoods have improved sharply since June of 1963. We live almost twice as long, and far more of our children are in school. Far fewer of our mothers die in childbirth, but we have a lot more to do to fulfill the dreams of the independence generation. When I took office 4.5 years ago, my task was to sustain and speed up the momentum of our development journey. Mine has been to lay the foundation for a prosperous Kenya, prosperity accessible to each and every Kenyan willing to work. That is why we have improved our roads and built new ones. That is why we have modernized our hospitals by installing modern diagnosis equipment, and that is why we have connected thousands to electricity, and that is why we today have the Madaraka Express, which I had the honor of riding into Nairobi yesterday. The Madaraka Express, ladies and gentlemen, is a true living symbol of the journey we are undertaking together. It is the foundation of better incomes for our farmers, manufacturers, and other businesses. On it rests our dominance as a regional hub, opening up opportunities for new markets for our goods and services, and letting us compete against other ambitious countries for the manufacturing investment that will bring jobs for our sons and daughters. As an alternative to our roads, the Madaraka Express will greatly reduce incidences of disability and death from accidents involving public service vehicles, and will move goods quicker across the Eastern African region, cutting delivery times, cutting corruption that has dogged users of roads and transportation along the northern corridor. Our investors will profit from the hotels, lodges, shops, kiosks, and smallholder farmers, schools and dispensaries targeted at newly migrating workers and settlers. You can now get from Mombasa to Nairobi in 4 hours, half the time it took as recently as Tuesday. That's the work of an administration that has the courage as well as ambition to cut by half the time taken to achieve an industrialized, job-rich, and secure Kenya. Our expanded and modernized ports and airports will be the logistic centers for the region, and hundreds of thousands of jobs in logistics and service will arise from them and the companies that they serve. For those who live between Nairobi, Nyeri, Nyanyuki, and Isiolo, and those traveling north, our plan is to extend the Thika Highway so that the dual carriage continues all the way to Nyeri, Nyanyuki, and ultimately to link up the northern corridor with the Lapsset corridor. We will also push for the development of agribusiness and value addition along that transport corridor to transform your hard work into higher incomes and jobs. Taken together, these investments mean that 60 major global corporations, which make Kenya their regional and continental headquarters, will be joined by many more of their counterparts. Young Kenyans will move into the professional ranks, effectively competing with the best from around the world. These initiatives are giving birth to a new Kenya. That Kenya which our founding fathers yearned for. A Kenya in which the basics of a decent life are securely within the reach of our people. A nation whose children will find the jobs and livelihoods their achievements deserve without waiting in line for years or requiring ethnic or family connections. A Kenya whose people won't have to attend weekly harambes or spend family savings to send relatives and friends abroad for modern health services. We will be citizens of a country that can feed itself and the region without regard to weather. And that is why we have worked to escape the persistent problems of rain-fed agriculture. We are developing irrigation schemes that will free us once and for all from the life-threatening risks of climate change and adverse weather. Our continuing vulnerability is felt in every home as drought ravages crops and livestock. The cost of food has risen here in Kenya, and our neighbors are facing full-blown emergencies and are obliged to call for humanitarian intervention. I am well aware the lives and livelihoods of many of our people are threatened by this drought. We have quickly responded, taking a number of measures, including subsidizing unga until the next harvest season. We have waived import duty on milk and sugar and other foods so that they can remain affordable. We will protect our people, both consumers but producers as well. My administration, with the support of the World Bank, has put in place livestock insurance, therefore protecting our pastoralist communities from losses to drought. And we are taking steps to link livestock farming to markets to make it a more profitable business. We dare not rest content with measures to meet the immediate drought. We had to look at every possible means of raising production of every farmer and herder in Kenya. And that is why to choose just a few examples, we have subsidized fertilizer for some, we have waived debts for others, and we approved the recommendations of the Coffee Sector Implementation Committee. I asked the committee to make a plan for the revival of our coffee sector. It was an urgent matter, and we needed to think again about the rules that govern the coffee industry, and we had to think afresh about our production, our marketing, and our value addition. The committee wasted no time, and we quickly agreed a debt waiver for coffee farmers, SACCOs, and unions amounting to Kenya shillings 478 million and Kenya shillings 1.7 billion on Starbucks funds through the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. Consequently, title deeds, once held as collateral by the bank, have and are being returned to cooperative societies and individual farmers to relieve them of the burden of that debt. Currently, the committee, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, as well as the Council of Governors, have together earmarked the upgrading of the Nairobi Coffee Exchange and the rehabilitation of 500 coffee factories in 31 coffee-growing counties. The state of our nation, fellow Kenyans, is strong. We have transformed our government and our politics to give the greatest voice to the people. Our democracy today is stronger than it has ever been. We have become the biggest economy in our region and one of the largest in Africa. Our people compete with the best in the world in many fields of endeavor, and our country anchors the region's peace and security, and we are a necessary partner in regional and global decision-making. Our achievements have raised our appetite for greater success in the war against poverty, ignorance, and disease, and our desire has been sharpened, aiming for the day when every Kenyan has a decent job, a full education, and security for his person and property. Our economy is growing. Services are being delivered to Kenyans better than ever before. But there is still more to do if we are to lift every Kenyan out of poverty and into prosperity. We must find jobs for all our sons and daughters who have met their part of the bargain by diligently going to school. For over 50 years after independence, a majority of us lived in darkness because of lack of planning and the arrogant perception that stima sio ya watu ambao wanaishi kwa nyumba za nyasi. My government understands that every corner of Kenya matters. Every Kenyan deserves basic services. And I am proud today to report that in the last 4 years, we have added more than 2 million homes to the electricity grid. Our streets have been made safer by the street lighting program, and traders, including here in Nyeri Town, now sell their wares far into the night without fear, benefiting from extended business hours. Connection by connection, we are slowly developing our economy into a 24-hour economy. Yes, we have worked to connect every home to electricity so that our children learn better and more equally, no matter what part of the country they come from. It is a matter of basic fairness and equity. Our efforts have ensured that 23,000 primary schools across the country have been electrified over the last 4 years. We did it because we strongly believe that our education system should not leave some of our children behind based on incomes of their parents or their being born in distant rural areas as opposed to large cities. And that is why we are also fully committed to free secondary education and a full transition of all our children from primary to secondary school as of January 2018. And that is why we have also scrapped exam fees. And as I said, with the scrapping of exam fees, we will ensure that secondary school is free from January 2018, and future generations will get the education they need to continue transforming our great nation. We want every part of Kenya and every Kenyan to be fairly included in development. That's why we have ensured that 60,000 public facilities, just under 70% of the total, and most in rural areas, are connected to electricity. My promise to you is that every remaining area will be connected in the next 3 years. In the off-grid counties of Wajir, Turkana, Garissa, Mandera, and Marsabit, we are installing 25 solar hybrid stations, and once complete, these stations will open up opportunities in these regions while improving security and protecting the environment. Indeed, in the last 4 years, my administration has raised the ratio of our people with access to clean water to 60%. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that 5.7 million Kenyans who did not have clean water in 2013 have it today. Notable progress has been made in providing clean water. New water schemes have been constructed in Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nakuru. In addition, medium-sized water supplies have been developed in Narok, Maua, Homa Bay, Kitui, Lamu, and Nyahururu. We have also increased access to sanitation, and an additional 1.75 million Kenyans are now covered. Better sanitation and clean water prevents diseases, raises our productivity, and more importantly, they mean dignified lives for our people. To improve access to clean water, my government has laid plans for the construction of the Northern Collector Tunnel, which will supply water to Nairobi and its metropolitan area, the Mzima 2 pipeline for additional water to Mombasa and Taita Taveta, the Siaya Bondo Water Project, and the Thwake Dam, Chemsusu, all of which I'm glad to say are on course. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya will soon become an oil exporting country. And even before a single barrel has been sold, the spending by investors is transforming Turkana and neighboring counties. We will see oil pipelines, new roads, and new railways that will crisscross our country, carrying the products that will raise the incomes of every Kenyan. Oil revenues will be joined by earnings from the rising number of manufacturers taking advantage of our new and improved infrastructure. Already car manufacturers, VW and Peugeot, are already showing and have started manufacturing here in Kenya. Car manufacturing is the iconic emblem of an industrializing economy. Diverse manufacturing investors are all excited to play a part in a vibrant and developing country. And as we grow the industries of the future, we have not forgotten the old ones. We are reviving sectors that have suffered from neglect. Our measures, for example, have saved jobs in companies like Pan Paper and are creating others as businesses establish themselves in regions that once felt left out of development. We will need healthy workers and families to ensure that these investments find a productive workforce. For years, Kenyans had only 3 referral hospitals, all built in colonial times. Now, after the efforts of the past 4 years, we have 92 referral hospitals across the country. The welfare of the people should be the first priority of every president. And I am proud that under my administration, my government has unveiled programs such as Linda Mama, saving thousands of young lives every year, and protecting women in childbirth. Just as we have brought modern medical equipment to hospitals nationwide, we have also expanded NHIF to cover catastrophic illnesses so that those already facing tough personal battles can focus on recovery, free from financial fear. We have expanded access to hundreds of thousands of vulnerable Kenyans, the orphaned, the elderly, the disabled, so that we can lighten burdens none of us would ever wish upon another. If a grandmother in Busia lacks care in her final years, the nation has abandoned its parents. I say that we will not abandon our parents. We will honor our mothers and fathers by making sure that they live in dignity in their old age. And that is why, from January of 2018, my administration will expand the monthly stipend program to cover all mothers and fathers of Kenya of 70 years and above. At this point, I would like to express my personal gratitude and that of the Kenyan people to the government of Hungary, where Ambassador Amina was a few days ago, for providing us funds to construct a cancer hospital in Nyeri. This hospital will serve the people of Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Muranga, Meru, Laikipia, Isiolo, and other parts of our country. Alongside this, we will expand and upgrade the Nyeri Provincial General Hospital as well as the Othaya District Hospital. Fellow Kenyans, our nation still remains at risk. Our people must be secured against the threats from terrorists and politicians seeking to spark confrontation, as well as criminals. We have made far-reaching investment in our security system, increasing the number of personnel, adding sophisticated technology, and stepping up our training and coordination. And we are also working to ensure that citizen engagement and innovative tools to disengage, rehabilitate, reintegrate criminals and extremists will complement our security system. The world has learned from the catastrophes in the Middle East and other parts of Northern Africa that the terrorists who seek the destruction of democracies like Kenya can quickly exploit vacuums in governance and government. And that is why we will continue with our stabilization mission in Somalia, keeping to the commitments we have made alongside our neighbors and the international community to support Somalia for the sake of its security as well as ours. Fellow Kenyans, the most vital element in all our efforts to transform our country is to ensure that we are governed well. Here too, there are successes to mention. In establishing devolution, we embrace the most effective way of managing our diversity and holding our leaders to account. Devolution and the democracy on which it rests have freed our people's energies and enabled robust citizen participation in decision-making. Since you entrusted my government with the responsibility of forging our new constitutional order, we have continuously ensured the effective implementation of devolution. We have kept to the timelines agreed, providing the needed administrative support, and going far beyond the constitutional threshold in financing counties. This is a historic achievement that all Kenyans should be very proud of. My brothers and sisters, a new Kenya is here. We must continue to dream big and boldly implement our vision so that every Kenyan can share in this country's bounty. The work my administration has taken is a foundation for that transformative change, which will benefit Kenyans for generations to come. A transformed Kenya calls for new politics. We need politics that look forward, not back. We need to leave behind leaders obsessed with using the conflicts of the past to divide us, rather than leading us forward in unity. Let every Kenyan remember the history. Let every Kenyan remember the history of our country and what it has taught us of the dangers of a divided society, of breaking people apart, all for the gain of a few. We should commit to redouble our efforts to instill in our youth a deep sense of patriotism and an appreciation of the gift to be a Kenyan. We must use every tool at our disposal to banish ethnicity and discrimination in any form. I know that there is still far more to be done, but I have immense faith in the greatness of our people. After all, we have already overcome challenges far greater than any that lie before us. I am proud to be a Kenyan in 2017, and how privileged I feel to be your president in this period of promise, and how blessed to be a Kenyan as our nation rises to the heights our forefathers foretold. Remember that Kenya is still a young nation, a nation with great potential and opportunity for all of us. This is a moment for boldness, and henceforth our politics must be shaped by the desire to take Kenya forward to prosperity for all. As a government, we will protect your rights to exercise the choice that you shall make in August 8th. I will assure all Kenyans that our security apparatus will remain vigilant and ready to deal with acts of lawlessness and disorder. All I ask of you as Kenyans is to reject the politics of division and conflict, that you vote in peace. That way, no matter the outcome, we will all win. We are 45 million strong, united as one Kenyan family. Elections will come and go, but Kenya shall remain, and we must remain as one. We all have a duty and obligation to protect the house that we have built and are still building. Keep faith always that we will renew this nation, for we are a people of faith, and we believe that justice will prevail, that peace will prevail, and that the people of Kenya will prevail. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, mimi nataka kushukuru sana wananchi wa kaunti hii ya Nyeri ambao wametuandalia sherehe za Madaraka za mwaka huu. Niseme asante kwa wote ambao wamehusika kwa mipango. Niseme asante kwa wananchi wa Nyeri kwa vile mmetukaribisha hapa kwenu. Kulingana na vile tuliamua mwaka uliopita ya kwamba ndio tuweze kuunganisha Wakenya. Sherehe za kitaifa tutakuwa tunazizungusha county kwa county, na ndio tuweze kuleta Wakenya wetu pamoja, na isiwe ya kwamba sherehe zitakuwa pekee Nairobi. Nyeri County ni muhimu kwa Kenya na lazima tuwe hapa, na Wakenya wengine kutoka sehemu zingine waweze kuja Nyeri na waone wenzao wa hapa Nyeri. Sherehe ingine tutaipeleka pahali pengine. Mimi nataka niseme ya kwamba hapa Nyeri najua bado kuna shida, na hii ni kitu ambaye nimeongea sana na sitaki niongee tena. Hii issue ya colonial villages karibu 150, najua kazi imeendelea lakini haijakwisha, lakini mimi nataka na nimeamurisha waziri wa ardhi, mimi nimekupatia wiki 3 umalize kazi hiyo na uhakikishe ya kwamba hizo titles wananchi wamepewa, na mimi nitakuwa hapa after those 3 weeks waniambie kama wamepata titles zao au hawajapata. Hatuwezi kila saa kuwa tunaahidi kitu alafu hatutimizi. Tunataka tutimize haya. Vile nimesema pia, nashukuru serikali ya Hungary kwa sababu juzi tuliweka mkataba pamoja na hawa na wamekubali kutusaidia kujenga hospitali ya kansa katika kaunti hii ya Nyeri, na mimi najua ya kwamba hiyo hospitali itasaidia sana wananchi wa kaunti hii na pia kaunti ambazo ziko karibu na nyinyi, kwa sababu lazima tutie mkazo kusaidia wananchi ambao wanatumia pesa nyingi sana kutibu watu ambao wako na huo ugonjwa wa kansa. Na mimi najua ya kwamba hiyo hospitali ikiisha itasaidia sana kupunguza gharama na kusaidia pia kukinga huo ugonjwa wa kansa katika sehemu hii. Vile nimesema pia, kutoka mwaka ujao Januari tuwataka watoto wetu wote wasome. Rais Kibaki alituanzishia mfumo wa elimu ya bure katika shule zetu za primary, kitu ambacho kimesaidia wananchi wa jamhuri hii yetu sana na kupunguza gharama ambayo wazazi walikuwa wanalipa ndio waweze kusomesha watoto wao. Tumesema na sisi pia kutoka mwaka ujao watoto wote ambao wataingia shule za upili kutoka form 1 mpaka form 4, mzazi hataitishwa pesa, itakuwa vile tu kama ya free primary. Na ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba watoto wetu wameweza kusoma kutoka darasa la kwanza mpaka form 4, na huo mzigo uwe ni mzigo wa serikali, na pia wakimaliza form 4 tuwe tumemaliza zile technical training schools ambazo tunajenga katika kila constituency, ndio wengine wataenda technical training na wengine waingie vyuo vyetu vikuu kama Kimathi hapa, na tuhakikishe ya kwamba hatuna watoto wadogo ambao wanarandaranda kwa sababu mzazi amekosa karo ya kupeleka mtoto shule. Hiyo ndio njia ya kuhakikisha tumesawazisha wananchi na hakuna mtu ambaye amewachwa nyuma kwa sababu ya shida hii au nyingine. Tumesema pia ya kwamba wazee wetu, tunataka kuhakikisha ya kwamba wazee wetu wote ambao wamezidi wako miaka 70 au kwenda juu, wote kutoka mwaka ujao watakuwa wanachukua ile pesa ya cash transfer, na ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba hata wazee wetu wanaishi maisha ya dignity hata na uzee wao, wakijua ya kwamba kila mwezi wako na pesa watakuwa wanapokea kutoka serikali yao, na ndio waweze kuendelea na maisha yao. Hiyo ni kitu ambacho tutaanzisha. La mwisho na la muhimu, hata nikiwaomba kura wenzangu wa Kenya, la muhimu sana siku ya leo, ikiwa ni sherehe ya kitaifa ya mwisho mbele ya uchaguzi mkuu, ni kuwaomba Wakenya pahali popote mlipo, jameni, tumekuwa na uchaguzi kila mwaka kutoka wakati tulipata uhuru. Na waomba kwa heshima kuu, msikubali kama Wakenya kugawanywa kwa misingi ya kikabila, ya kidini. Kila Mkenya ako na haki ya kupiga kura. Sisi tutahakikisha ya kwamba tumetoa ulinzi wa kutosha. Yangu ni kuwauliza, tupige hiyo kura kwa amani, tupige hiyo kura kwa heshima, tukijua ya kwamba taifa la Kenya litakuweko baada ya uchaguzi wa mwezi wa Agosti. Kenya will still be here, and the Kenyan people will still be here long after the elections. Elections can no longer be about individuals. They must be about the people. They must be about agendas. They must be about transformation, not dividing our people, not shedding blood. We did not fight for our independence in order to shed our own blood. Umwagikaji wa damu hatutaki kuona tena ati kwa sababu ya uchaguzi. Tuwe watu ambao wataheshimiana na watakubali waamuzi wa wananchi ambao ndio wengi, kwa sababu serikali yoyote ambayo itaingia, hata kama, na mimi narudia sana, serikali ya Kenya ni serikali ya wale walikupigia kura na hata wale ambao hawakukupigia kura. So mtu asiwezi kuona ya kwamba ati kwa sababu yule ambaye nilitaka hakuchaguliwa nilete vita. La, ukishindwa gojea nafasi nyingine. Hao ni namna gani wenzangu? Na mimi nikimalizia, lazima nichukue nafasi hii kuwauliza Wakenya, miaka hiyo chache minne tumefanya yale ambayo tumeweza. Tumeweka msingi ambao tunataka sasa kujenga juu yake. Tuhakikishe ya kwamba tumeweza kupanua sasa uchumi wetu, vijana wetu wapate kazi na nchi yetu ipate utajiri, na tupigane na umaskini, ugonjwa katika taifa letu. Langu ni kuwaomba mtupe nafasi tuweze tumalize ile kazi ambayo tumeanza. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, mimi nasema Mungu awabariki nyote. Mungu alinde taifa letu la Kenya. Mungu alinde wananchi wetu, na tuendelee kuzingatia amani na umoja. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Naomba tusimame sote tafadhali mahali tulipo kwa wimbo wa taifa. Basi tungependa kuwashukuru nyote ambao umeweza kuhusika katika kufanikisha sherehe hizi za siku ya Madaraka, na tukiwatakieni kila la kheri mnaporudi nyumbani kwenu. Mwenyezi Mungu apate kubariki sana. Kwa niaba ya mafundi wa mitambo kutoka Presidential Press Services, Bwana Simon Ndungu, Bwana Joel Mutuma, Bwana Peter Ngula, Bwana Danson Mwangi, Bwana Atanga na Bwana Bakari, kutoka kwangu na kwa niaba ya watangazaji wenzangu, waelekezi, Bwana Peter Wanjohi na hali kadhalika wenzangu.
Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta leaving the stadium right now at the end of the 54th Madaraka Day celebrations after what was a lengthy speech that you could say had a lot of what you would probably hear during these national celebrations. He talked a lot about making the country a better place, ensuring the country is food secure, our children are better educated, we're creating more jobs for our youth, especially in the security sector. A lot of the things that you would expect to hear during such functions, but a lot speech was actually focusing on what comes next, and that is the election in just 2 months' time. And a lot of what he said was an appeal, a pre-election appeal to voters, making a lot of promises. And my colleague Melita, who covers this region now, there are a lot of things that he said that you would say appealed to the people of Nyeri. Did you feel that the speech connected lots of promises that would make the people here very happy?
Indeed, Sheila. You see, for example, the president has talked about the expansion of the Thika Superhighway. This will come with a lot of parks. Immense business activities will take over the place, and just like the Thika Superhighway, when it was constructed, you remember a lot of businesses came along the highway. So we're expecting to see that, even as the highway is expected to be extended from Thika all the way to Isiolo through Nyeri and Nanyuki. And the president also spoke about establishing a cancer center here in Nyeri, and all this just to ensure that the people of Nyeri have a very good health system and get the best medical facility. And this also will remember the cancer screening center. People will be able to walk in there, get checked if they have cancer or not. And so many other things that the president has talked about will come in handy to the people of Nyeri. So this will go a long way in appealing to them, even as he seeks to get re-elected come August 8th elections.
Mm-hmm. He also made some promises to the coffee farmers. Obviously, coffee has been a big issue in this region. A lot of the farmers complaining that the returns from their investments have not been very good. Do you feel that the voters are going to like that?
Indeed, he talked about the government putting in so much work in making sure the coffee factories are improved, and this will come in handy also because so many people here depend on farming, especially coffee, for livelihood. So it may go a long way. We can't tell it right now, but it may go a long way in helping him gain the votes here.
All right. Well, it might have been difficult to separate what is a national day from what is really a campaign for the president in that sense, because a lot of his speech focused on what he plans to do after 2017. A lot of what he promised would come later in 2018. He made promises starting January that there would be free secondary education. And he was reading from a drop-down list as well of the things that he considers to have achieved the last 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. He promised the residents here in Nyeri and the country as a whole that there will be free education, free primary and secondary education starting January next year. And we look at people here. I think it has resonated well with the residents in Nyeri because for the past, since he took over from the last government, there has been free primary education, but now free secondary education coming in is just something on another level. So I think it's going to resonate with people across the country as well. So it's a gain for him.
Right. And speaking of the election, there were also calls from all the leaders who spoke to just ensure that the country conducts peaceful campaigns. I know that elections are a bit they're a bit personal.
Yeah,
some people take them very personally, and it's a very dividing factor in this country. And the president the Deputy President, and other leaders who spoke, urging the country to really ensure that the country remains peaceful during this time, during the campaign period. A little bit of irony there, during the speech, CORD leader, or rather ODM leader Raila Odinga had to sit through that, and he's one of the opposition leaders, and he had to sit through the speech. There was pretty much a campaign pledge for the president, but the president did urge unity. He said that the elections will come and go, but the country will still remain even after the election.
Indeed, Sheila, and we also we want to echo his sentiments that people should keep peace. We don't need to fight over elections, really. So come the August 8th elections, I think people should just vote and be peaceful.
All right, we have to wrap it up from this end. Thank you so much for joining us here on NTV. We've been covering the 54th Madaraka Day celebrations live from Nyeri County. We have to throw this back to NTV for normal programming.